Chapter 691. When Yi Er found out that her name had been removed from the list, she was at a loss. How could this be? She was supposed to be part of the competition and Jiang Zhao had promised her. How could she suddenly become a mentor and act behind the scenes? She called Jiang Zhao and felt wronged. Hubby, my name has been removed. So what if it's removed? It's not a big deal. What do you mean it's not a big deal? It's obviously a very big deal. How big of a deal? You still need to go to school. How can you have so much time? Don't you need to go to school? The college entrance exams are coming up in a few months. Are you ready? Are you still in the mood to do this? Yi Er suddenly felt that Jiang Zhao's tone was not right. Jiang Zhao, did you do it on purpose? Tell me, did you do it? What do you mean by on purpose? You personally gave the order. Who has the guts to remove my name from the list? Tell me, who is it? If they find out who it is, won't you help me deal with it? Yi Er was not stupid. With Jiang Zhao's personality, how could he tolerate someone going against him like this? Jiang Zhao was the one who gave the order and the name list had already been confirmed. How could Jiang Zhaowei not know about the sudden change? Everything else aside, at least Jiang Zhao's name had to be removed from the list. He had to be informed. However, Jiang Zhao said calmly, if you want to withdraw, then so be it. Jiang Zhao could not stand Yi Er's questioning. Yes, it was me. I was the one who asked it to be removed. I felt that you should not take part in the competition. Anyway, your dance studio will benefit from it. What are you afraid of? Do you have to be famous? What's the point of being famous? It's the same as being a boss. You have good mentors. If they become famous, it's the same if your dance studio becomes famous. How can it be the same? How can it be different? Do I have to stand in the middle of the stage and receive applause and flowers to be considered successful? Slap. Jiang Zhao wanted to continue scolding, but Yi Er had already hung up. How dare she hang up on him? Jiang Zhao felt that this little girl was really unruly. She even dared to smash his phone because of a disagreement. She must have dug out the leopard's guts and put it on herself. Li Ran knocked on the door and entered the office to deliver the documents for the morning meeting. He took out his phone and dialed back. The photo on the screen was of the woman's side profile in the morning light. The screen kept showing the words connecting, and then it was cut off. Good, she dared not to pick up. She was bold again. He dialed the number again. The number you have dialed is switched off. What a guy. Jiang Zhao threw his phone and slammed it on the table. Li Ran was shocked. Since when did Mayor Jiang not care about his own assets? Smashing the phone? After working in the office for so long, this was the first time he saw it. But Li Ran did not know that the reason why Jiang Zhao had smashed his phone was because of Yi Er. Jiang Zhao took out his phone and called Yi Er's office. The phone was picked up and hung up the moment he heard Jiang Zhao's voice. Good. He did not believe that he could not teach her a lesson. This was not a big deal and she still threw a tantrum with him. Why was she so uncomfortable when she could not dance with other men? Yi Er felt that she had seen a glimmer of hope, but now it was all gone. Jiang Zhao was too despicable. He had used his authority to help her get benefits, and now he used his authority to withdraw her benefits. This person was too despicable. Does he think he is so great just because he has authority? Fine. Even if he has authority, he should not play with her like this. He should not have given her hope in the first place and now he is blocking her way. He should not have given her any promises in the first place. Now he is going back on his words. This is not what a man should do. She hated him. She was best at international and Latin dances. But now he was telling her not to participate. When Jiang Zhao found Yi Er in her office, Yi Er was leaning over her desk, writing and drawing. The A4 paper was filled with drawings of turtles and the words, Jiang Zhao, you bastard, you tortoise. Jiang Zhao picked up a pen and drew a turtle on another piece of paper. He drew a few strands of grass on the turtle's head and wrote, Yunyi you be asterisk tis you tortoise. His handwriting was clearly 100 times better than Yi Er's. Damn. He actually came over to pick a fight with her in such a domineering manner. Yi Er sat up angrily. I don't want to see you. Get out. Why should I leave? If I want to stay, I will stay. Call the police. Just say that I am harassing you. Jiang Zhao, you are unreasonable. I have plenty of reasons. The two of them started quarreling. If you don't give in to me, I won't give in to you either. You say something and I say something back. It was a competition of whose voice was louder and whose aura was stronger. Jiang Zhao's aura enveloped the entire venue. Yi Er's aura came out of her throat and covered each other's ears. You promised to let me dance. You even said that you would guarantee that I would be the champion. The champion. Although it was a little suspicious that she had gotten in through the back door, even if she wanted to be vain, there was nothing wrong with that. Ye did not think that this was shameful behavior. She was not the only one who did this. Yes, I did promise you. But this international pas de deux is not allowed. Why not? What's wrong with international pas de deux? Are you discriminating? Is that so? You said it was okay at the beginning. Anyway, I won't allow any other man to hug you other than me. They will hug you longer than me. No, I won't even hug you once. When Jianghu thought of this, he was all kinds of unhappy. He would only hug her when he got home at night, after dinner, when he went to bed, and when he fell asleep. How long would he hug her? And this was under the condition that he did not go on a business trip. Fei Yin said that for such a long program, rehearsing and practicing every day was like an 8-hour workday. To hug her for such a long time when she was sober and entrust her safety and life to that person, he would be an idiot to let his wife do such a thing. Fei Yin was right. He should not have opened a dance studio for her. If he wanted to make money, he could have opened a casino. Why open a dance studio? There would be problems as she danced. His wife was soft and tender. She had a graceful figure. Her face was like a lotus flower. Which normal man could hug her for hours and not have problems? Jianghu, be reasonable. How can you think of me as that kind of person? You are not that kind of woman, but there are many men like that. Are you talking about you? Yes, if it were me, I would be. The two of them quarreled with red faces. In the end, the outcome was already decided from the beginning. Ye could not win. The winner would always be the chess player who could manipulate the game. Even if she could quarrel better than Jianghu and reason better than Jianghu, Jianghu had the power. If he did not say anything, the teacher behind the scenes could be removed. Beauty Novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 692. Ye was disheartened and lowered his head. How could it be Xiaoya? Why couldn't it be done with her? How could he associate a normal dance with a man and a woman hugging? What was this man's brain made of? Xiaoya slammed the door of Zhuang Yichen's car. Zhuang Yichen started the car, and just as it entered the entrance of Duga, a white Land Rover stopped beside Xiaoya. He recognized the car. The license plate was Xiaoya's birthday. Kangyun. He slammed his fist on the steering wheel. The car did not care about the traffic rules and made a left turn at the entrance of Duga. Xiaoya had just opened the door of Kang Yun's car when she was picked up like a little chick. When she was thrown into the back seat of Zhuang Yichen's car, she suddenly realized that it was Zhuang Yichen's doing. Kang Yun was about to open the door and chase after her, but Zhuang Yichen had already closed the door and sped away. The atmosphere in the car was freezing. Xiaoya could not help but shiver. Zhuang Yichen, what are you trying to do? Little demon Qiu, it seems like you still don't understand what I mean. When Zhuang Yichen spoke, his nostrils and jawline were frighteningly stiff. Even his voice was cold and emotionless. He took out his phone and dialed a number. After a few seconds he said, Xia Qian, a fourth-year student at the media college who is interning at Channel 2. Xiaoya rushed over and snatched his phone. Zhuang Yichen. If you dare to touch Xia Qian, I'll fight you to the death. Zhuang Yichen continued to drive and glanced at the woman leaning against his shoulder. Risking my life? You think you can beat me? My life is tougher than yours. Do you want to try? What are you trying to do? Little demon Qiu, you should know why I didn't care about you a few years ago. You've been too naughty recently. Our relationship is over. I have my own life and freedom. The man sneered. Really? When did it end? Yesterday? The tip of Xiaoya's heart seemed to grow a thread. The more she pulled it, the longer it grew. The thread was thin and soft. When she pulled it, she was afraid it would break, but if she did not pull it, she was afraid it would get knotted. She pulled and pulled until she felt a little pain. Sitting back in his seat, he felt the soft and comfortable seat cushion. Not only was the exterior of the car dazzling, but the interior was also extravagant. Lying on such a seat was like lying on money. She wouldn't buy such a car even if she had the money. It was too expensive and the cost of maintenance was too high. Even if she could afford it, she couldn't afford to keep it. Everything needed to be managed. If you couldn't afford it but insisted on buying it as a shop front, you would be the one suffering. Xiaoya had always been a woman with a strong sense of anxiety. From the first day she was with Zhuang Yichen, she thought that she might be abandoned at any time, so she wanted her own house and career. That was why she bought a car that cost more than 200,000 yuan, in case she was abandoned by this man one day and could not afford a good car. She always had a way to comfort herself when she met with a setback. Just like this time, if it were someone else who had no one to help and no one to care, they would have hanged themselves long ago. But she didn't. She thought that at worst she could just find another man to help her. Anyway, that was how she started her business. But when she put out the marriage advertisement and someone was willing to help her pay off her debt, she pretended to be noble and shy. That advertisement was a little selfish. Zhuang Yichen did not care about her and left her to fend for herself. Fine, then she would show him how she was born and how she was destroyed. It was not shameful to rely on a man. Qiu Xiaoye had relied on sleeping with men to get to where she was today. When he finally came to Qingfeng Garden, she was actually happy. There were some things that she couldn't understand. She just felt disappointed when she thought of him after they broke up. It was as if there was something imperfect. The cherry blossoms that had only bloomed for a day had withered because of the storm. It was really ugly. Just like how she looked after they broke up. It was really ugly. She was the one who wanted to break up, but he agreed without a frown. He generously gave her the house without even batting an eyelid. At that time she felt like she had been abandoned. She already knew that she would be abandoned, but when it came she was still at a loss. She didn't want to know how much of her mother's words were true and how much was false. But what was his attitude now? He didn't allow her to get married, but wanted her to continue sleeping with him? She didn't know how much she had to move this man. It didn't seem possible. She had lost her brilliance, but she couldn't afford to waste her youth anymore. Especially when she saw Jiang Zhao by Yi Er's side, she felt like she was terminally ill. She always told Yi Er that a woman should have her own career, so that she wouldn't be left with nothing when her man abandoned her. But it was so funny. Even if Yi Er was abandoned by her man in the future, she could still legally get a sum of alimony or get a share of Jiang Zhao's assets after they got divorced. But what about herself now? She would really be left with nothing after being abandoned by her man. When Yi Er was sick and hospitalized, Jiang Zhao took care of her every day. He was so busy with work, but he rushed to the hospital after work. When Yi Er's father was hospitalized, Jiang Zhao and Yi Er would visit him every day. If Yi Er wanted to eat something, Jiang Zhao would accompany her. Yi Er didn't wear luxury goods. She told her that because of Jiang Zhao's work, she couldn't be too extravagant or people would point fingers at her. Yi Er didn't wear sexy or seductive clothes. She told her that because Jiang Zhao didn't like her to wear revealing clothes. She also told her that she had to dress more maturely so that she would be more compatible with Jiang Zhao. Yi Er dared to act coquettishly to Jiang Zhao in front of a table of friends and said, "I want to eat that, but I can't get it." Jiang Zhao would satisfy her immediately. When Yi Er called to say that she wasn't feeling well, the first person to rush over would definitely be Jiang Zhao. The two of them could stand hand in hand under the sun. That was the kind of happiness that marriage could bring. To get this, Yi Er used some means to force Jiang Zhao to give in, but she still benefited from it. Xiaoye felt that she was jealous. An uncontrollable jealousy took root in her heart and sprouted, growing lush branches and leaves. They were both women with men, but this difference was too painful. Xiaoye was still looking out the window. Her eyes were faintly moist. "Actually, we always knew that our relationship was built when you were valuable to me. When my career collapsed, you weren't willing to help me. If that's the case, then our exchange isn't equal. But all these years, my achievements were all because of you. All this time you slept with me for nothing. Just treat it as the interest I paid. What are you still not satisfied with? Why do you have to make it so ugly and use my sister to threaten me?" Xiaoye could only hear the man's breathing in the car. She sighed softly. "I can't be with you forever. I still have parents. I have to think about them. You always knew that my mother wanted me to get married. Even without Kang Yiyun, they would still introduce Lu Yiyun, Zhang Yiyun, Wang Yiyun to me in the future. Yichen, sooner or later I will get married, have children, and have my own family. A happy family that my parents hope for." For the first time, Xiaoye called Zhuang Yichen by his name. "Yunyi, I agree that you want to be successful. But dancing is out of the question. Or I can open another company for you. I can allocate a lot of business for you. If you want to make money, make your own money. That's a very simple thing. But to be famous for dancing, that's out of the question." Yi Er sat in her seat and looked up at the man who was looking down at her from above. His firm tone, as well as the domineering and strong aura that he exuded, enveloped her like a net. It tightened around her until her voice and confidence became smaller and smaller. "Jiang Zhao, I want to do what I like to do, what I'm interested in." Jiang Zhao bent down and rested his elbows on Yi Er's desk. He held Yi Er's face in his hands and stared at her. "It's a blessing to be able to turn your interest into your career. But if you can't have it both ways, why can't you treat your interest as a hobby? Still what I said before, do you have to use applause and flowers to get the affirmation of others for what you like? Then do you yearn for flowers and applause, or do you yearn for your interest?" Jiang Zhao, you're talking nonsense. However, Jiang Zhao was very serious. True interests and hobbies don't need the affirmation of others. Yinyi, everything is the same. Let me give you a simple example. When we got married, not many people gave us their sincere blessings. Our family backgrounds didn't match, our ages didn't match. Such voices could be heard everywhere. But we're willing to be together. Even without the approval of others, we're still living very well. Groups of people are jumping out to ask for a divorce. They don't approve of us and doubt us. But we're still together. You're my interest and I'm your interest. Isn't it fine as long as both of us approve of each other? Why do you have to show off what you think is good to everyone? But if you show it to others, will you be happier than you are now? Yi Er was stunned. Jiang Zhao continued, if we show it to others, the people who applaud you will say, wow, they're so happy. That's great. I'm so envious. But what about the people who gave you the eggs? They will say that the woman is so young and the man is so old. The man's family background is so good, and the woman's family background is so terrible. They will also say that the woman is insensible and the man has no taste. In the end, the happy thing will be dug deeper and deeper by others. Your past, my past, things that we clearly don't care about, will become more and more unbearable by those eggs. Small things will become bigger and bigger by others. Do you dare say that with your tolerance you'll be able to do it without being disturbed? Yi Er couldn't help but admit that she admired Jiang Zhao. When she wasn't with him, even if she ran into obstacles everywhere, she was still the one making the decisions. She could be considered a person with her own opinions. But ever since she got together with him, all the decisions no longer seemed to have anything to do with her. But in the end, she was always willing to compromise. Someone once said that a person can't succeed for no reason. Jiang Zhao was the same, right? He had the ability to grab hold of the weakness that others cared about the most and hit it with one blow, causing the opponent to be utterly defeated. Awesome novel Xingwu 799. Chapter 693. I want. Yi Er wanted to be famous. Perhaps at her age, such vain thoughts could be found everywhere. Her heart was in turmoil. Jiang Zhao still held Yi Er's face and said slyly, Think, what do you want to eat? I'll accompany you for lunch, okay? He knew that dancing was not feasible and would make Yi Er very unhappy, but he had no choice but to try his best to make up for it. I want to eat ice cream to vent my anger. Okay, let's have an ice cream feast for lunch? Okay. Yi Er agreed hesitantly. Yi Er thought that Jiang Zhao was capable enough. Jiang Zhao thought that Yi Er was magnanimous enough. Just like that, the two of them went for lunch as if nothing had happened. Yi Er did not choose to have an ice cream banquet. Humans were made of iron and rice was made of steel. No matter what, she had to eat her fill to have the strength to work. She ordered 3 dishes, 1 soup and 2 ice creams. Yi Er had lived a hard life for 2 years, so she was very meticulous when it came to ordering food. She knew how to pair the 3 dishes of meat and vegetable soup, what kind of dishes would be served and how many people would eat. Jiang Zhao looked at her serious expression and felt that his wife was really good at managing the household. Although he did not need her to save money, he just felt that she was cute. When they were eating, Yi Er received a call from Zhou. She was a little hesitant. Jiang Zhao asked, "Who is it?" "Zhou." Yi Er frowned. It turned out that the most troublesome thing was not one's career but one's family. No wonder people said that marriage and family were a woman's life career. It was indeed so. Her family was a mess. Fortunately, she was not famous yet. If she became famous in the future and people found out about it, it would be embarrassing for Jiang Zhao. Forget it. So be it behind the scenes. She did not want to stir up trouble. Answer it. Jiang Zhao gestured with his chin. As soon as Yi Er picked up the phone, Zhou sighed over the phone before she could say anything. Her main thought was that she had spent all her money. Yi Er hung up the phone and started to eat her food. Jiang Zhao sat opposite her and asked, "What's wrong, little fox?" "It's fine. Let's eat." "Did something happen to her again?" "Don't care about her. Let's eat." Yi Er stood up and took the bowl in front of Jiang Zhao. He filled it with soup and set it aside to dry. He sat down again. "Yin." Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er sulking. He had probably vented his anger countless times already. If he kept holding it in like this, he would suffer internal injuries. Actually, it's impossible to ignore it. Yi Er looked up. She's always saying that she doesn't have money. How can she take care of everything? Jiang Zhao said, "She's your mother. This can't be changed. No matter what she does that makes your hair stand on end, you should still take care of her. Actually, you don't have to be so calculative if she spends a little more money every month. Are you afraid that your husband can't afford to support her? Jiang Zhao, you can't say that. You don't know how much she has gone overboard. I just gave her money. It's only been a few days. And before I went to G City, I was worried that she wouldn't be able to take care of herself, so I went to the supermarket in the afternoon to buy her a lot of things. Food, drinks, necessities, everything that she needs, I've already bought them all. I even bought her sanitary pads. She spent more than 3 million on clothes and cosmetics that night. What else does she need to spend? Thinking about this, Yi couldn't get angry. Fortunately, this mother found a big backer who Jinchang 2 years ago. Otherwise, if he followed her, he would definitely have used up all the money he had to sell the house to protect himself. When that time came, he would have no money to eat and he would probably be so poor that he would have to sell his younger brother. Yunyi, you care that she spends too much money. But if you're rich, will you give her money? But I don't have money. Jiang Zhao couldn't help but laugh. Then don't I have money? Yi waved her hand and said impatiently, even if you have money, you can't let her squander it like that. Forget it, stop talking about it. Whenever you talk about it, I'm reminded of how she looked like when she spent more than 3 million yuan a night. Whenever I think of her, my liver hurts. Really, it's not that I've forgotten my mother after marrying my husband, but there's a limit to everything. Anyway, I can't take it anymore. I really don't know how my father and Hu Jinchang can stand her. My liver hurts. Jiang Zhao looked at Yi's angry expression and raised his hand to calm him down. Okay. I won't talk about it. But if she doesn't have money, you should at least ensure that she has basic living expenses, don't you think? Isn't 3,000 yuan a month enough? We're living a good life in the 9th mansion, right? Dad, CJ, me, when we're living together, I don't even spend 3,000 yuan a month on groceries. She's living alone. I'm the one who pays for the utilities. Jiang Zhao hated Zhou Li, but it was fine as long as they moved out and didn't live together. If he didn't care, it wouldn't be right. The Jiang and Qin families taught filial piety as the most important thing. Although he couldn't stand Zhou Li anymore and couldn't be filial emotionally, Yi had the responsibility and obligation to support her morally and legally. Yi, what do you think about this matter? How about we arrange it this way? 3,000 yuan isn't enough for her to spend, and you're unwilling to give her more. Why don't we each take a step back? You give her 5,000 yuan a month and let our Andy introduce a colleague to her. The colleague will cook for her 3 meals a day and tidy up the place. The Andy will buy the groceries. This way, at least we don't have to worry about her going hungry. What do you think? Yi's eyes lit up, and her mood suddenly brightened. She grabbed the big glass of ice cream and lowered her head to eat it. It was cold and sweet but not too greasy. It was really comfortable. Hubby, why are you so smart? Why didn't I think of it? Then in the future, give her 3,000 yuan a month and hire a cook. Jiang Zhao thought he heard wrongly. Didn't you say 5,000 yuan? Then we'll have to add another 2,000 yuan to hire a cook. 3,000 yuan is enough. In the past, I spent less than 2,000 yuan a month taking care of Xijia, and I even raised him so well. Now we're the ones buying her daily necessities and skincare products. How much money can she spend? Jiang Zhao's heart suddenly ached. He stretched out his long arm and wanted to reach out to rub her head, but he was afraid of touching her bitter past. He wiped the corner of her mouth with his thumb. Eat less ice cream in this season. Look at how greedy you are. You make the decision. You have to spend more time mediating the matters at home. If the family is peaceful, everything will prosper. Do you understand? Yi nodded and pouted. She felt a little guilty. Jiang Zhao, I shouldn't be thinking about becoming famous at all. There are a lot of things at home that haven't been settled yet. It's great that you can think like this. After Yi finished eating, she quickly contacted the housekeeper at home and quickly found a cook for Zhou Li. She went to Zhou Li's house again and gave her 3,000 yuan. Mom, I've hired a cook for you this time. You don't have to buy the groceries. The cook will be done. I'll get her to cook according to the standards at 9th Mansion. Yi, 3,000 yuan isn't enough. I wanted to book a monthly membership card for the beauty salon yesterday. I even chose the cheapest package, which cost 5,099 yuan. Mom, we can't afford that kind of beauty salon. Can't you find a salon that only deals with faces? But how can we not go to a spa? Yi felt like the tendons in her brain were dancing on a bamboo pole. They were tapping so hard that her head hurt. Don't we have a bathtub at home? Can't we buy some flower petals and pour some milk into it? Yi, how can you treat Mom like this? Isn't this good enough? Then what did you do to me in the past? Don't you know that everything is hereditary? If I were your biological child, shouldn't I learn from you back then? Mom. Yi shouted weakly and said, It was Jiang Zhao who didn't allow me to do that. If it weren't for the fact that Jiang Zhao looks down on unfilial people, She took a deep breath and said, I really don't want to care about you anymore. I want you to be like me in the past and fend for yourself. I will send you 3,000 yuan on this day next month. Don't call me during normal times. I won't pick up. Then what if Mom gets sick? Zhou Li looked at Yi Er's face, which was as cold as a stranger's. She was about to cry. Then I'll discuss it with Jiang Zhao in the afternoon. We'll reserve a VIP number for you at the private hospital. When you get there, just put it on our tab. What do you think? No matter how cold and hard Yi Er was, her eyes still turned red after she entered the elevator. If she wasn't afraid of feeding Zhou Li's appetite, there were some things she couldn't say. Shen Kai called Jiang Zhao and told him he would be waiting for him in his office. When Jiang Zhao returned to his office, he saw Shen Kai sitting on the sofa and bickering with Li Ran like a gentleman. It seemed that Shen Kai had suffered too much recently. If he didn't find someone to vent his frustrations on, he would die of boredom. Li Ran was also pitiful. She didn't know how to be tactful and straightforward. She was so angry that she jumped up after hearing a few words from Shen Kai. When Li Ran saw that Jiang Zhao had returned, she left the room. As soon as Li Ran left, Shen Kai immediately showed his hooligan side. He crossed his legs and leaned against the sofa with a roguish look on his face. This secretary of yours doesn't know how to deal with people. This won't do. When Jiang Zhao saw the change in Shen Kai, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I think it's okay. A straightforward person doesn't need to worry. Shen Kai took out a wrapped file from his briefcase. I brought some originals for you to see. You can write down the important ones, but I can't give you copies and originals. Jiang Zhao rubbed his face and smiled. Kai, I realize that you've been in a mess recently, but your mind is still very clear. Shen Kai stood up and walked to Jiang Zhao's desk. He took out the file and a pen from Jiang Zhao's pen holder and placed it on the table. He raised his eyebrows and smiled. Of course, if I give you copies or originals, you'll know that they're from my place. I won't give you the chance to frame me. Jiang Zhao sat back in his seat and took out his pen from the drawer on his left. He twisted the pen cap and skimmed through the file. The Inspection Institute was really a good place. There were all kinds of secrets. Ouyang Xing had put in a lot of effort in the past few years. He laughed softly. Shen Kai, you're really smart. You're actually guarding against me. Hurry up and give me a copy. Of course, to be on the same side as a wolf, one must wear armor. Ah. You're the wolf. Jiang Zhao also laughed. Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 694. Shen Kai looked at Jiang Zhao taking notes. Fine. A wolf is a wolf. How can there be a wolf like me who will repay the kindness of a drop of water? Jiang Zhao looked at Shen Kai with disdain as he recorded the important data. Don't flatter yourself. Can you keep it up? Shen Kai had a smug look on his face. I have to keep it up even if I can't keep it up. Flattering looks good. Ouyang Yin had never thought that Shen Kai would make her a mere figurehead. When she returned to work, she realized that there was nothing for her to do. All the cases that she was in charge of had been assigned to her colleagues. It was obvious that she was not part of the team now that she had to keep her mouth shut about the case. What was the meaning of this? She looked for Shen Kai, but Shen Kai looked very busy. He did not care about her, but he arranged for her to work very seriously. However, the work she did was all trivial. Ouyang Yin was angry when she thought of Shen Kai. The reason she did not like Shen Kai was very simple. He was like a hooligan. He looked like a hooligan since he was young. Even in law school he was still a hooligan. He couldn't be compared to Jiang Zhao at all. Jiang Zhao always had a calm and experienced appearance wherever he went. Many people listened to Jiang Zhao's words, unlike Shen Kai who always caused trouble and annoyed people just by looking at him. But when Shen Kai suddenly treated her with a very serious attitude, she could not get used to it. He was so cold as if they did not know each other. As for Shen Kai, Ouyang Yin was a dream of his youth. At that time, Ouyang Yin was like a princess in his dreams. He always felt that Ouyang Yin was sparkling, there was something very shiny about her. If it was not for Ouyang Yin's tricks on Jiang Zhao, he might not have woken up from that dream. At least he felt that dreaming was a good thing. When he woke up and thought about it, it was a nightmare. Could it be that the princess was a witch and the dream was not a nightmare? What dream could be more shocking than this dream? A woman who was weak in his impression suddenly held a big knife and slashed at everyone, including the old, the weak, the women, and the children. He really couldn't accept such a change. No wonder Jiang Zhao refused to look back. Could it be that Jiang Zhao had already woken up from that dream? In the end, he woke up early because of his deep understanding of the situation. Shinkai, what are you trying to do? You actually made me so empty. Facing the Ouyang Yan's finger, Shinkai replied lazily, Inspector O. Yes, I'm not making you a mere figurehead. I'm just assigning you the most suitable position for what you're doing. I used to be in charge of cases, but now you want me to be a clerk. I'm telling you I won't do it. Ouyang Yan couldn't accept it. She had a double master's degree, and he wanted her to do a clerical job and be in charge of all kinds of documents. Did Shinkai's brain get hit by a door? Shinkai put down the pen in his hand and looked up at the beauty leaning on his desk. He raised his eyebrows, and his eyes curved into a mischievous smile. However, in the blink of an eye, he suddenly became serious and said to the Ouyang Yan, the party teaches us to bow our heads and be willing to be children and cattle. The country needs to be built, and we are the party. As a member, we are the tiles of the nation, the bricks of society. We will move wherever we are needed. There are many kinds of jobs in society. We can't be picky. We can't be light and afraid of heavy work. Any work is of profound significance to the progress of society, and as the party as a member, we should first set an example and take the lead. Comrade Ouyang, the administrative department needs you now. You can't shirk your responsibilities. This is irresponsible to the people and society. If you want to do this, you are not a qualified party member. Ouyang Yan was so angry that her face was red. Shinkai stood up with a serious expression. He even looked at the Ouyang Yan with a stern gaze and asked, What's wrong with the administrative department? Without the administrative department, where would we get the documents we need to try the case? Without those documents, how would we be able to try the case perfectly? The brick of the administrative department is a big brick, or even a big stone. It is the foundation of the entire inspection institute. Comrade Ouyang, you can't ignore such an important position. As a member, you have a discriminatory attitude towards the job. I suggest you reflect on it. Shinkai was like this. He raised his eyebrows and smiled mischievously. 3 seconds later, he became serious, and a second later he spoke earnestly. After a sentence he was serious and stern. What was even more shocking was that after he finished speaking, he coughed awkwardly and touched his nose mischievously. As an Ouyang Yan who often played together since they were young and studied in the same university, Shinkai was like riding a roller coaster. It was unacceptable. Especially the way he spoke. If he made his voice sound older, covered his face, and played the silent news in front of you, you would think that there was a meeting of the people. This bastard. Ouyang Yan scolded Shinkai in her heart. Shinkai actually wanted to cover his face because when he saw Ouyang Yan's pale face, he almost laughed out loud. But as a party member, how could a member be so unserious? So he held it in. Ouyang Yan bit her lip. Shinkai, I have a double master's degree, and you want me to be a brick in the administrative department. What about you? Why don't you go? You're here as a brick at the top of the pyramid. It's so beautiful. Shinkai's expression became serious. Wrong, Comrade Ouyang. You can't use the pyramid, which obviously has a feudal class element, to insult my pure party member. Sex. Ouyang Yan spat at Shinkai in her heart. Pure party member. Sex. Bah. Don't say party member. Sex, even the word pure had nothing to do with Shinkai. If you're a brick, then you're a piece of ceramic tile that's pasted on the building of the inspection department. Shinkai lazily sat back in his seat. He had a ruffian smile on his face and a light in his eyes. 3 seconds later, he stopped smiling and pretended to be serious. Even if I'm the ceramic tile pasted on the outside of the inspection department, do you think it's a face-saving project? No, you don't know the value of the ceramic tile. You only see the surface. Have you really seriously considered the value of the ceramic tile pasted on the walls of the inspection department building? Winter and summer, wind and sun and rain, which one of them isn't covered by ceramic tile? If it weren't for the ceramic tile that sheltered the bricks of the building day and night, this building would have been old. Have you ever been grateful for the spirit of the ceramic tile's selfless dedication? Ouyang Yan was so angry that she wanted to smash the table. Shinkai, you're going too far. You're just relying on the fact that I can't out-talk you, right? Shinkai said very humbly, No, how can you not out-talk me? You have a double master's degree and you're still taking the PhD exam. I'm not as knowledgeable as you. This isn't a question of whether I can out-talk you or not. It's because I'm reasonable. As the ancients say, if you're reasonable, you can walk all over the world. If you're unreasonable, you can't do anything. Ouyang Yan gritted her teeth and scolded, Bastard. It was obvious that he was unreasonable, and now he was saying that she was unreasonable. Shin Kai sighed. You don't know how to respect your superiors. Remember to organize the meeting materials for tomorrow's meeting. You can leave now. After Ouyang Yin left, Shin Kai closed the door and called Jiang Zhao. If you want to do it, you better hurry up. Ouyang Yin is still in the inspection department. Even if I made her a figurehead and she can't touch the case, she still has acquaintances. If she gets wind of this, you won't have a chance after the family Ouyang is settled. Jiang Zhao replied. I know what I'm doing. I will not stop what I'm supposed to do. That's good. Hello, I heard that Mrs. Jiang is going to take part in a national dance competition on TV too? If such a beautiful Mrs. Mayor were to take part in such a competition, she would attract a lot of attention, right? I don't know who the male partner is. If she doesn't find a handsome partner, it won't be harmonious. If it's a handsome man and a beautiful woman, I think everyone in Haicheng will be watching that program from 1 to 8:40 p.m. What will happen then? Shin Kai chuckled softly after he finished speaking. Jiang Zhao paused for 2 seconds. Once again he felt that what Fei Yan said was right. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The news spread quickly. Even Shin Kai knew about it. But Shin Kai did not know that he had removed Yi Er's name from the list. Fortunately, he removed Yi Er's name quickly. Otherwise, Yi Er would have become the talk of the town. Jiang Zhao knew that Shin Kai had used such a tone to remind him to be mindful of the consequences. How could he not understand such an obvious meaning? No, it's just that her dance studio will provide some teachers and partners. She will be behind the scenes. Haha, then I won't be able to see it. But I still hope that sister-in-law's dance studio will be a hit. Please pass on my blessings. Thank you. I will definitely pass on my blessings to her. Jiang Zhao hung up the phone and looked down at the documents in his hands. His brows furrowed. The family Ouyang and Yun Hongwei's case was so complicated. It was really annoying. He had to think of a way to avoid any leads on Yun Hongwei. If that was the case, he could not let the family Ouyang know that he was the one who did it. Otherwise, the Ouyang Yin would easily implicate Yun Hongwei. Holding the phone, his thumb touched the screen hard. He called Zhuang Yichen. Are you free? I'm not free. Zhuang Yichen's voice was very loud, very fierce, very angry. Jiang Zhao was stunned. If Zhuang Yichen could be so angry, it meant that there were no outsiders around him. He did not know who had provoked him. To be able to provoke Zhuang Yichen to this extent, the person must be very brave. As he thought about it, he laughed. God, what's wrong? Are you having menstrual cramps? Do you want me to get my secretary to buy you some menstrual cramps? Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 695. When Zhuang Yichen heard Jiang Zhao's words, he wasn't in the mood to continue the conversation. I'm not free. I'll contact you later. After hanging up, Jiang Zhao didn't call him again. He knew that Zhuang Yichen must have encountered a difficult problem. Otherwise he wouldn't be so angry. He shrugged and threw the phone on the table. So be it. Zhuang Yichen didn't know why Jiang Zhao was looking for him. If it was in the past, they would have gone straight to the point after exchanging a few words. After all, Jiang Zhao didn't have the habit of calling him for no reason. However, he wasn't in the mood today. He hadn't even gone to the office yet. Looking at the woman sitting on the sofa, Zhuang Yichen was in a daze. He hadn't brought anyone to the 9th mansion. It should be said that where he lived, whether it was the suburbs or here, he didn't like to bring women home. Therefore he had always been the one to visit her. He'd brought her here today because her parents were in Qingfeng Garden. They couldn't talk outside, so they couldn't continue the conversation. So he brought her back. Recently, she had messed up his rhythm and principles a few times. This wasn't a good sign. Logically speaking, he should have been more magnanimous and let her go when she told him about her situation with tears streaming down her face. Just like last time when she mentioned breaking up and said that she missed Kang Yiyun, the man she loved, he remembered what she said at the time, but he didn't really listen. She probably said that she didn't want the house anymore. He said that he was the one who gave the house away. How could he take it back? A villa and a duplex were transferred to her name in the shortest time possible. In fact, he had always been a person who haggled over the smallest details. Even when he was with a brother like Jiang Zhao, unless the other party urgently needed his help, they would always exchange benefits of equal value. Only then would he help, and Jiang Zhao was the same. When he was with her, he had already calculated and felt that it was a good deal. That was why he continued with the relationship. Now that she thought about it, when he gave her the house when they broke up, he was also calculating. Logically speaking, she was the one who initiated the breakup, so he did not have to give her the house. But he was so generous and gave it all to her. Was he really such a kind person? No. Zhuang Yichen had never been such a kind person. After the first business deal, he was thinking about the second one. He was investing. The purpose of investing in the house was to get a return on investment. What he wanted in return was for this woman to think of him when she lived in the house he gave her, and not to run into another man's arms as soon as she turned around. He had always known that she was a cold person, but he still made this investment. This was the risk investment that often existed in their circle. It was too risky to invest capital in such a woman. If they were not careful, they would lose everything. He had taken a liking to this business and decided to invest in it because they had a foundation of nearly 4 years. During these 4 years, she had been very obedient. Every time he found out about her methods of rejecting those suitors, he could not help but clap his hands and applaud. After they broke up, she did not think about the past. She only wanted to throw herself at Kang Yun. She could not understand why. After being separated for so many years, what feelings could they have for each other? Tell me, what do you want so that you won't cause trouble? Ever since he brought Xiaoya home, Zhuang Yichen's tone became much gentler. Do I look like I'm causing trouble? Why don't I wait until I get married and then have an affair with you behind my husband's back? What do you think of this plan? But I have to be clear. When I sleep with you, you have to wear a condom. Otherwise, when the child is born, we won't know who the father is. Also, when I get pregnant, I won't be able to sleep with you for a long time. You can't blame me. During the pregnancy, you have to be careful. Don't do strenuous exercise. If Xiaoya said this in her usual arrogant manner, one would know that it was pure nonsense. But at this time, she was sitting on the sofa with her head lowered, twisting her fingers. Her voice was slow and monotonous, and she looked very tired. The more she was like this, the more serious she looked. Zhuang Yichen was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He originally pressed Xiaoya down on the sofa and pulled a chair to sit opposite her. He just looked at her like this. At this time, he suddenly stood up. When he straightened his leg, he pushed the chair back. When he lifted his leg, he lost his balance and almost tripped himself. At this time, all the fire was directed at the innocent chair, and the clean living room became a mess. Xiaoya looked up blankly. In recent years, she had never looked at Zhuang Yichen with such an expression. Zhuang Yichen had also never seen Xiaoya like this. Stop kicking. Xiaoya took a breath. You shouldn't be asking me what I want. Actually, I should be the one asking you. What do you want? Zhuang Yichen put his hands on his waist and walked 2 rounds in annoyance. He pulled off his tie and threw it on the chair. Then he took off his expensive suit and threw it casually on the floor like a rag. He bent over to pick up the cup on the coffee table and took a big gulp of water. Finally he said, You're not allowed to get married. You're not allowed to have intimate contact with other men. That's all I want. The woman's sigh was light and long. It sounded weak. Zhuang Yichen. Yichen. Zhuang Yichen's back stiffened for a moment. In the car, because she had called out to him like this, he hadn't come back to his senses for a long time. She was doing it again. Don't try to fool me with your tricks. Don't make it sound like you're weak. Put away your tricks. Xiaoya acted as if she hadn't heard him. Yichen, can you be fair? I've been with you for 4 years. How many more years do you think I have? I'm 25 years old now. You can't forbid me from finding my future just because you think that I'm still fresh and you haven't had enough of me. What will happen to me in the future? I've been with you for 4 years. Can you really bear to see me grow old and never be able to get married? Then I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. If you're worried, I'll give you some of the company's shares. As long as the company doesn't get into trouble, I guarantee that you'll be able to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Or I can buy you a high-value insurance policy. Even if my company collapses in the future, you won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life. Is that okay? Zhuang Yichen said it naturally. He felt that this was the best solution. Didn't a woman marry to find someone to rely on? He had already paved the way for her. Now she wouldn't think about it anymore, right? Also, I'll settle your debt for you tomorrow. Now that he thought about it, he really should have listened to Jianghu. It was all because of the closing of the shop. He wanted her to reflect on the evils of society, but she wanted to take a shortcut and get married. Xiaoya looked at Zhuang Yichen in surprise. She bit her lips. You want me to be your underground prostitute for the rest of my life? Zhuang Yichen was annoyed to answer this question. They were fine like this now. Why do you have to say that it's an underground prostitute? Then what is it? Xiaoya stood up. Her body swayed slightly, but she used all her strength to stand firm. Her eyes were sore, her breathing was erratic, and her voice was very nasal. Tell me, if it's not an underground prostitute, what is it? No one eats with me, sleeps with me, watches movies with me, picks food for me, and there's no one to talk to. In the middle of the night, when I have a fever, I get out of bed to pour myself some water, but I fall on the ground and sleep until the next morning. Now, I don't even dare to get sick. Zhuang Yichen. Do you think I'm a superwoman? Do you want to shoulder everything by yourself? Boo-hoo, Xiaoya had never cried in front of Zhuang Yichen like today. Over and over again, from the first time she cried silently, to this time she cried out loud. Her body was embraced. In front of her was a firm chest, and her back was a gentle touch. Her head was slowly rubbed by the man's big hand. The voice above her head was slightly hoarse, but every word was as sharp as a knife. Xiaoyao, let's do this for now. This is the only thing we can do now. Explain to your parents and tell them to stay away from Kang Yun. Xiaoyao, although I can't guarantee that I will accompany you every day, I can guarantee that if you dare to get involved with Kang Yun, you will only hurt him. I don't want you to hate me. I don't care how deep your relationship was in the past, but if he touches my woman, I will let him die. Even his corpse will not be found. Xiaoya suddenly quivered. Lips. Kisses. Her clothes were slowly stripped off. She was carried by the waist, and the man on top of her pressed down. It was the first time she slept in Zhuang Yichen's bed. For Xiaoya, it was a different experience. It was as if this was a different world. Only here did she feel like she was not a virgin. After a while, she finally got out of bed and put on her clothes. I'm going back to Qingfeng Garden to sleep. Okay. I'll send you there. In the future, I'll get someone to send you food every day. Okay. The obvious sense of distance made Zhuang Yichen frown slightly, but then he relaxed. He was still wearing his shirt. I'll get Uncle Li to contact you. Tell him what dishes you like to eat. Okay. Xiaoya just agreed. After sending Xiaoya off, Zhuang Yichen came out of Qingfeng Garden. He dialed Jiang Zhao's cell phone. Brother Zhao, what's up this afternoon? You've settled things? Yes. Yichen, I have something to discuss with you. Go ahead. Yun Hongwei had borrowed a sum of money from Ouyang Yu in the past, and when he got this sum of money, he naturally went through the unspoken rules. If I want to disassociate this sum of money from bribery, what should I do? Jiang Zhao's words were probing. He knew how to graft, but someone had to be willing to take the fall. Zhuang Yichen parked the car by the side of the road and thought about Jiang Zhao's words. Brother Zhao, I think it might be because Yun Hongwei is your father-in-law that you're so cautious and can't use your fists and feet. Actually, we all know that it's impossible to expose his case. If the mastermind behind it is exposed, we can't afford to offend him. But if we want to destroy Ouyang Sheng, now is the best time. Yun Hongwei has been in a deep coma. Even if we expose all the small things, he'll still be safe. Also, I suggest that we cut down all the thorns on the road while he's in a deep coma. We can't even give them a chance to breathe. I can cooperate with you. Zhuang Yichen's words were ruthless and decisive. They suddenly cleared up Jiang Zhao's mind. Sure enough, he was too restrained to think things through. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 696. How confident are you? Jiang Zhao's meaning was very clear. There were more than one or two thorns on this road. He could be fast. Zhuang Yichen also said that he would cooperate with him, but how much cooperation? He needed to know how much cooperation he would have. Qin Tong can't stay. If this goes on, I will be more and more confused with him. This is very dangerous for everyone. Zhuang Yichen was actually a little annoyed. Jiang Zhao had been dragging down their cooperation because of Yun Hongwei, which made him very uncomfortable. But even so, it was not convenient for him to intervene in family matters. How about this? Let's talk outside. Let's go to the tea house. I will wait for you there. Okay. In the tea house, the sound of the goujing and people was like smoke, lingering in the air and not dispersing. In the small private room, Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao were washing the tea set and boiling tea. Brother Zhao, I don't think it's impossible. What's the way to bypass this? Jiang Zhao's voice was as serious as his expression. I don't think it's too much. Jiang Zhao sighed almost inaudibly. Yun Yi really hopes that Yun Hongwei will wake up soon. If the treatment is delayed, it won't work. Zhuang Yichen always liked to do things quickly and ruthlessly. If he had to lay low, it was because he had no other choice. Therefore, before a man's great career was accomplished, he must not have any encumbrances. Jiang Zhao was a good example. He could have cleared the road long ago, but because of Yun Yi, a woman, he had made it so that it was neither up nor down. If they hadn't known each other for so many years, He would have told him the source of his dissatisfaction. Why not? When Yun Hongwei wakes up, can you let go of your fists and feet to deal with your enemies? What he did later will tie you down bit by bit. Now, you just ask the hospital to stop the treatment for him for a period of time. It's not that you won't do it in the future. Won't it be easier to deal with his affairs after you cut off all the wings that should be clipped? You can't be like this for the rest of your life because of him, right? A deep coma for 3 months and a deep coma for 3 years is just a difference in time. But to you it's a guarantee of your future. Zhuang Yichen felt that this matter was urgent. He had to help Jiang Zhao get rid of the thorns around him first. Then Zhuang Yichen could help him deal with the Zhuang family. He could not keep Jiang Zhao was a threat. Zhuang Yichen's such a rebellious suggestion. Once they did, Yun Hongwei would definitely be implicated. Now that Yun Hongwei was in a deep coma, even if he was implicated, what could he do? If he had a few more years to get to his position, he would be able to get rid of his enemies. Everyone's political background would be deep. Another 20 years. 10 years. 5 years. 3 years. 2 years. They could even be suspended for a year or two. At this juncture, it was indeed the best time to strike at his opponent. It would be best if Yun Hongwei did not wake up during this process. The Jiang and Qin families placed filial piety at the top of their education. But Jiang Zhao had a wolfish nature in his bones. He was ruthless. It was a miracle that he could treat Yi like this. At least, people who were not related to him by blood would not be able to receive his wholehearted devotion. He knew this. But Yun Hongwei was not Yi. The ruthless wolfish nature in him had taken over his morality toward Yun Hongwei. Can you guarantee that the hospital will stop the treatment so that he will not wake up? Until we're done. Mission. There's nothing that can't be done. There may be many ways to wake up a person who is in a deep coma. But if you don't want a person to wake up, there are many ways to do it. If you don't want Yun Hongwei to wake up, I have a way. Jiang Zhao muttered to himself for a moment and frowned. Then we'll do as you say. I'll send Qin Tong's photo to the news agency tomorrow. But the media might not dare to publish such sexy photos of political figures. Go and tell the news agency to release it. Okay. After Jiang Zhao made up his mind, he suddenly thought about it. It was best if he could rush forward quickly. Fighting a protracted battle would consume too much energy. Meanwhile, outside the private room, a woman with a long pale pink scar on her face widened her eyes in shock when she overheard the conversation in the room. Yi had just returned home from the hospital. It was already 10:30 p.m. when she realized that Jiang Zhao was not back yet. She gave him a call. Jiang Zhao replied that he had already arrived downstairs. Yi washed some red grapes and soaked them in cold water again. She washed them clean and placed them on the coffee table in front of the sofa. She took off her slippers. Under the coffee table was a large, fluffy carpet. It was very comfortable to step on with her bare feet. She knelt on the ground, picked up a small pair of scissors and cut off the red grapes one by one. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Yi quickly stood up. She pulled a piece of tissue paper to dry her hands and threw the tissue paper into the small trash can. She quickly put on her slippers and ran to the door. She took Jiang Zhao's slippers and placed them on the ground. Just as the man changed his shoes, the woman pounced on him and hung on him like a koala bear. Her face was about to burst with laughter. She called out, "Hubby, hubby," in an exceptionally happy manner. So happy? Jiang Zhao threw the briefcase in his hand on the table. He hugged the woman's butt and walked into the living room. Yes, of course I'm happy. How can I not be happy when I see my hubby coming home from outside every day, healthy, handsome, and beautiful? Your mouth is so sweet. Did you put honey on it? Yes, I did. Why don't you try it? Come on, try it. Yi learned this from Jiang Zhao. She learned very quickly and applied what she learned on the spot. Yes. He took a bite and smacked his lips to taste it. He frowned and seemed to ask very seriously, "What kind of honey? What kind of nectar? I haven't tasted it yet." Try it again and study it. Then you have to taste it carefully. Yi stretched her head out to let the man eat. She looked as cute as a child. Yi's mouth was almost swollen from the man's kisses. Finally, she pushed him away. Okay, I'll tell you. It's red grape honey. Have you tried it? Jiang Zhao nodded very seriously. Yes, Yunyi brand. Ah, yes, Yunyi brand. Yi pointed at the red grapes on the tea machine and ordered, "Go over there. I just washed them. Eat some fruit before we go to bed." Okay. She was placed on the sofa by Jiang Zhao. Yi giggled. "I'll give you some red grapes." Jiang Zhao shook his head and nibbled on Yi Er's neck. I want to eat Yun Yi brand red grape honey. Yi Er reached out to the tea machine's tray and picked up a piece of grape honey. She put it in her mouth and smiled as she ate it. Jiang Zhao took a piece of tissue and put it in her mouth. Yi Er spat out the tissue. Jiang Zhao crumpled the tissue and threw it into the trash can. He shouted happily, "Eat honey, eat honey." There was a sweet taste in his mouth. It was yours, mine, and he couldn't tell it apart. Jiang Zhao rubbed the woman under his body. Those soft skin felt so soft in his hands that he wanted to crush it. He pushed up the clothes and took off Daodu, who was covered by her underwear. Yi Er patted Jiang Zhao. It was so ticklish that she wanted to laugh. She shrank back. I told you to eat red grapes. Where are you biting? Jiang Zhao fiddled with her fingertips and gently scraped with his teeth. He shook his head. No, I want to eat cherry peach. Okay. Yi Er was trembling from being eaten. She twisted and turned, trying to find a comfortable place. Her underwear was pulled away and they were separated. The man slowly buried himself in the woman's underwear. Yi Er took a deep breath. Jiang Zhao, what are you doing? Didn't you say we were going to bed? Jiang Zhao pushed hard and let out a comfortable groan. His voice was hoarse like jade. What are you doing? Fuck you. PFFF. Yi Er was stimulated. Jiang Zhao didn't say such crude words. When two people were in bed, they were happy. Even if he did it until his face and ears turned red, he would only murmur some ambiguous words in a gentle voice. What? She couldn't accept such words. She couldn't accept it. It doesn't sound good. You're not allowed to say that. Isn't it? Wave after wave, he repeatedly asked. There was a naughty smile in his voice. Isn't it? Yi Er couldn't take it anymore and could only admit defeat. Yes, you're right. The moon was high in the sky. The two of them moved to the bedroom. Yi Er was lying on Jiang Zhao's body. Her eyes were curved into crescents. Her bright mood and happiness were written in her eyes. Hubby, I want to see Dad tonight. The doctor said that Dad's condition is getting better and better. I'm so happy. Jiang Zhao was originally caressing the woman's smooth back with his eyes closed in enjoyment. At this moment, his hand froze. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked at Yi Er, his gaze fixed on her. Her eyes didn't come back to their senses for a long time. There was a ball of anger in her heart. The hand behind her lifted up and caressed her forehead. He touched her and said in a suppressed voice, Yun Yi, huh? Jiang Zhao felt that the atmosphere was a little serious, so he put on a shameless smile. If one day you had to choose between your father and me, who would you choose? When Yi Er saw Jiang Zhao like this, she couldn't help but snort. She slapped his chest and asked him, if your mother and I fell into the river, who would you save first? Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 697. Jiang Zhao could almost feel his eyebrows knitting together. Let's save them together. One of us will carry them while the other will carry them. I know how to swim. Yi Er kissed Jiang Zhao on the cheek. Haha, okay. After Yi Er fell into a deep sleep, Jiang Zhao began to toss and turn, unable to fall asleep. He quietly got out of bed and went to the balcony outside. At this time the weather was not as cold as before, but the night was as cold as water, and the wind was still somewhat bone-chilling. He lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. The orange light instantly brightened up the man's face, and he could clearly see that his handsome eyebrows were deeply furrowed and his expression was serious. He had asked Yi Er purely unintentionally. It was one thing for a person to have confidence, but confidence did not mean that they would succeed 100%. It meant that even if they did not succeed, they could still afford to lose. He did not have 100% confidence, but this time he might not be able to afford to lose. Zhuang Yichen's words constantly reminded him that he had indeed been stagnant for too long. Ever since he got together with Yi Er, he had indeed retreated a lot because he cared too much about this family. He was a little lazy, and this laziness made Zhuang Yichen very dissatisfied. In fact, he could feel Zhuang Yichen's dissatisfaction, but since they were not together, it was also a form of trust. Originally, the matter with the Zhuang family should have been put on the agenda long ago, but because Qin Tong was a stumbling block, they could not take that step forward. In the past, he was afraid that if these people were involved, it would make Yun Hongwei's matter more and more difficult. Zhuang Yichen was right. At most, Yun Hongwei would be guilty of bribery. Now that he was in a serious coma, even if he was sentenced, it would not be a death sentence. If it was not a death sentence, then he would have to continue receiving treatment. Human rights were there. As long as Yun Hongwei slept for a few more years, everything that needed to be dealt with could be dealt with cleanly. Jiang Zhao took another deep breath of the cigarette. The orange light shone into his eyes, reflecting a murderous glint. It was imperative. There was no other choice. He couldn't abandon the future of the Jiang family and the Qin family just because of Yi Er. Although he and Zhuang Yichen were using each other, he couldn't betray the trust he had in him. As long as he moved faster. Yun Hongwei had only woken up a few years later. Jiang Zhao exhaled, walked into the living room and put out the cigarette in the ashtray. Back on the bed, Yi Er lay on her side. Jiang Zhao propped himself up beside her and planted a soft kiss on her earlobe. Yunyi, I'm sorry. Jiang Zhao sighed and lay down beside Yi Er. The pillow slowly became wet. Was very sensitive, but she still maintained her sleeping position and didn't move an inch. At dawn the next day, the situation in Sea City suddenly changed dramatically. Mayor Qin Tong's sexy photos were spread all over the city in different ways. For a time, there were discussions everywhere. Qin Tong's colleagues distanced themselves from the news, afraid that they would be involved in any news that was unfavorable to them. At the same time, Qin Tong's 19-year-old son's life suddenly went against all the unfavorable situations. He was transferred to Beijing's elite private school and was going through the procedures to go abroad at the fastest speed. The person who was handling these procedures was not Qin Tong's family, so there was no way to check their information. When Qin Tong was investigating the confessions, there were almost no fish that escaped the net. However, he did not mention Zhuang Yichen. It was as if this person had never appeared in his life. Min Hongxing was suspected of bribery and was under investigation. Ouyang Sheng was suspected of bribery and insider trading, and was under investigation. Ouyang Yu was suspected of bribery, illegal loans, and using his power to seek personal benefits, and was under investigation. Zhuang Jingren was suspected of bribery and money laundering, and was under investigation. Yun Hongwei was suspected of bribery, but because he was in a long-term coma, he relied on a large number of instruments and expensive drugs to sustain his meager life. The evidence was proven, and the investigation could not be carried out. He continued to be released on bail for medical treatment. Suddenly, the political situation in Sea City was reversed. The position of mayor was suddenly empty. Zhuang Yichen held a clear and bright crystal glass. The amber liquid swirled in his hand, and he seemed to be very happy. In the private room of the peerless beauty Zhao Jun, the sound of glasses clinking against each other was like a stirring concert. The two people who raised their glasses smiled and drank happily. The two of them stood facing each other at the side of the princess bar. Brother Zhao, you should have done this long ago. I was right. Jiang Zhao touched Zhuang Yichen's glass. At this moment, his mood was as relaxed as Zhuang Yichen's. Yes, that's right. After getting rid of Qin Tong, I feel much better. I suddenly feel that my hands and feet are free. This feeling is really good. Zhuang Yichen raised his glass and drank a mouthful of wine. In fact, in front of Jiang Zhao, he still smiled a lot, especially when he was teasing or ridiculing. When he smiled, it was as if pear blossoms had bloomed overnight. He raised his eyebrows slightly. If you didn't know Yunyi, how could Qin Tong be so carefree now? That's why the ancients say that beauty is a source of calamity. Ah. Jiang Zhao just smiled and ignored Zhuang Yichen's disrespectful words about Yi Er. Anyway, what he said was the truth. It was fine to admit it. Even if a beauty was a source of calamity, she had to have the ability. To be able to harm Jiang Zhao, it was also Yi Er's ability. Jiang Zhao thought so in his heart. Haha, you're right. But Yunyi has her good points. It doesn't matter if she's a little slow. Zhuang Yichen looked at Jiang Zhao and asked curiously, is marriage so good? Marriage has its good points. It's stable. Do men think so too? Zhuang Yichen always thought that only women would think this way. It should be people who yearn for a complete family. They all feel this way. I've always yearned for a complete family, so marriage makes me feel very stable. In fact, Jiang Zhao never shared his thoughts and experiences with Zhuang Yichen. It would be very pretentious for men to say these things. However, Zhuang Yichen's eyes were too serious as he waited for his answer. To repay his sincerity, he still said it. Zhuang Yichen listened more and more seriously. Suddenly, he shook his head and pointed at Jiang Zhao with his index finger. Marriage is a tie. I concluded it from you. You concluded it indiscriminately. When you were in school, you got a 0. Zhuang Yichen said disdainfully, I don't need high marks for exams. Those who get full marks on the paper are crazy. Jiang Zhao raised his eyebrows proudly. Are you talking about me? Zhuang Yichen laughed out loud. Yes, you've always been sick in the head. Thank you for letting me win. Ah. Jiang Zhao laughed impudently. But let me tell you, my grades in primary school were very bad, so when my brain was building the foundation, it didn't have any illness. Even if I got sick later, it could be cured. As long as I wasn't born sick, it wasn't a serious illness. Haha. Ah. The two of them drank and chatted happily. It had been a long time since they were so proud. Jiang Zhao let out a long sigh and returned to the topic. What do you plan to do with Chen Tong's son? I'm afraid that this line will take a long time and will be troublesome. Zhuang Yichen leaned against the bar counter and put his elbows on the counter. He shrugged. Of course I'll take good care of him. I know that it will be troublesome. But Chen Tong is very cunning. It's inevitable that he will go back on his words and bite me. I have to leave him a way out. You were right when you reminded me. He can ignore his wife, but his son is his lifeblood. He won't ignore him. With this chess piece in my hand, I'll use both the carrot and the stick. As long as Chen Tong dares to drag me down, his son will suffer. He's very smart. He won't do that. Jiang Zhao was standing beside Zhuang Yichen. He raised his elbow and nudged him. Good fellow, will you do the same thing behind my back? Zhuang Yichen raised his chin and pretended to look at Jiang Zhao contemptuously. He snorted. You have to be careful. Don't make a move behind my back. Otherwise, I'll have a lot of things to use against you. Jiang Zhao couldn't help but laugh. Of course, when I'm at my wit's end, I'll immediately pull you out and perish together with me. You have to be careful and protect me well. This is for your own sake. If we weren't brothers, I wouldn't have told you this secret, huh? God. How did I find an ally like you? You're a bomb now. Zhuang Yichen seemed to be annoyed as he finished speaking. He smiled and poured Jiang Zhao and himself with a bottle of wine. Then he knocked the wine glasses against each other. Cheers. For treating each other with sincerity and for dying together in the future. After Jiang Zhao's glass was knocked, he raised it. Cheers. For the sake of cutting off all means of retreat, for the sake of the possibility of being blown to pieces at any time in the future. The friendship between men, be it interests, morality, or an inexplicable mutual admiration and recognition, in short, not everyone could bear the title of brother. Jiang Zhao returned to the building. Li Ran seemed to be having a headache. His face was filled with wrinkles. What's wrong? Why are you so tired during working hours? Li Ran held his forehead. Boss, you are going to be the substitute mayor. It's hard on me. Oh. Jiang Zhao felt that it was quite interesting to meet a blockhead like Li Ran. Back then he had fired Lu Cheng and wanted to find someone more honest. The old director of the Public Security Bureau had recommended Li Ran, saying that he knew his place. Moreover, great wisdom begets fools. If Li Ran's foolishness was real, Jiang Zhao really couldn't tell. If Dong Xuebing becomes the acting mayor, he will be the acting mayor in the future. The position of the acting mayor will also be different. Li Ran said with a bitter face. They keep calling you to invite you out for meals and social events. I told them that your schedule is full, but they feel that I am your secretary and you are related to each other. They insist on inviting me out. I told them that I am a clean secretary, but they don't believe me. So, don't they know that my ass is not a horse's ass but a cow's ass? Jiang Zhao chuckled but patted Li Ran's shoulder and said earnestly, then use your cow but as a horse's butt. Li Ran looked at Jiang Zhao speechlessly, feeling even more distressed. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 698. Boss, what should I do in the future? Li Ran asked. Tell them that a document has been issued from the top recently. Fight corruption and promote integrity. Tell them to work overtime every day and don't have time to socialize. They will be stupid if they don't understand this hint. Jiang Zhao said and returned to his seat. Li Ran suddenly laughed. Boss, how come you are so smart? Why didn't I think of this? I will know how to reject them in the future. But you still have to entertain others. You can't reject everyone. You should learn from them. Jiang Zhao opened his pen and looked at Li Ran. Li Ran, you are only a few years younger than me. Don't use honorifics in the future. Just use it in public. If not, you will not be used to it. Li Ran scratched her head. Okay, I will remember it. After Li Ran left the office, Jiang Zhao understood what the old bureau chief said about Li Ran. The so-called great wisdom attracts the foolish, was because some people were hiding their intelligence. They were trying to test their limits step by step. Everyone knew that the position of the mayor's secretary was very important. Getting the mayor's secretary to do public relations was also a very basic method. Li Ran's cleverness lay in the fact that he didn't know Jiang Zhao's bottom line. He kept the most basic probing, and in the process of probing he grasped his own limits. Other people are round on the outside but square on the inside. But Li Ran is round on the outside but square on the inside? Jiang Zhao felt he is interested in this person. He does not want another Lu Qing to appear. To him, loyalty is more important than anything else. Yi Er went to the hospital more often because the doctor said Yun Hongwei has a high chance of waking up. But there was no progress recently. Yi Er was very anxious. Every time she went to the main doctor and assistant doctor, the same answer would be given. There is no standard data on when the patient will wake up. Most of the time, the patient's symptoms will recur. Furthermore, the patient's heart condition is very serious. So, it is normal for him to not wake up. Yi Er felt the whole process is torturous. Half a month ago, she felt the sun had started to warm up. But now it is April and the weather is still not warm. She felt the cold wind from time to time. Looking at her father lying on the hospital bed, the burden in her heart became heavier and heavier. If her father was already 70 years old, she wouldn't have anything to say. Birth, old age, sickness, and death were things that no one could escape since ancient times. She wouldn't be so stubborn. However, 40 years old was too young for a man. Many men started their careers in their 40s and some even started their careers in their 50s. Her father's current wish might not fall on his career, but Si Jie was growing up. After all, she was an older sister. It would be a happy thing to have a father watching him grow up, right? She had suffered too much at home, so she didn't like Si Jie's precociousness. Children who matured too early were not cute. They were really not cute. They would always make people feel pity for them. Si Jie was like that. She felt that Si Jie was very pitiful. Doctor, although there is no hard data to prove that my father can wake up, at the very least, the situation should be developing in a good direction, right? Why do I feel like something's not right? The doctor looked at Yi Er. With his hands in his white coat, he said, Mrs. Jiang, for such a critically ill patient, many things are actually normal. Some things will suddenly get worse when they suddenly get better. Actually, I feel like it's good to maintain the same level as it is now. At least it hasn't gotten worse. Yi Er didn't understand professional things and the doctor's words were very official. She couldn't find any flaws in his words. Even though Yi Er's heart was full of doubts, she could only secretly worry. She thought back to what Jiang Zhao had asked her that night. If she had to choose between him and her father, who would she choose? She only asked him back and didn't answer. Later when he said sorry, she heard it clearly. She didn't know why he wanted to apologize to her, but his tone was too sincere and moving. It was so low and slightly hoarse that she couldn't help being moved. Those words, which clearly didn't have any hints, actually made her cry. She didn't know if her brain had a cramp, but she actually thought of that incident. When she came out of the hospital, she was accompanied by a burly bodyguard hired by Zhua Hao. Yi Er shook her head helplessly. The bodyguard didn't leave her side at all. Before she reached the garage, someone suddenly called out to her. This voice was very familiar. She turned around and smiled. Unwu. Unwu hadn't seen Yi Er in a long time. He didn't expect to see Yi Er here. He carefully looked her up and down with a hint of worry. Yi Er, are you sick? Yi Er shook her head. No, I'm here to see my father. What about you? Hearing Yi Er's reply, Unwu seemed to heave a sigh of relief. He actually revealed a shy expression. I accompanied Grandpa to have his health checked. I haven't seen you in a long time. You're becoming more and more mature. After saying this, his face couldn't help but blush slightly. Feeling his face heat up, Unwu lowered his head. Mature? Are you saying that I'm old? Ah. Yi Er was a little happy to see Unwu, but she remembered what Jiang Zhao had said to her before. Jiang Zhao didn't like Unwu, and he didn't like her interacting with Unwu even more. Did all women have to lose their friends of the opposite sex when they got married? Even though she was a little reluctant, she still said to Unwu, Unwu, I have to go back early. Say hello to Grandpa Shi for me. I'll visit him another day. Unwu was stunned. His hands at his sides opened and closed, but he finally nodded. Okay. After Yi Er turned around, Unwu caught up with her after a few steps. He wanted to reach out to pull her, but in the end he put his hand down and called out to her. When she turned around he asked, Yi Er, is Zhaoge good to you? Yi Er looked at Unwu. Looking at his clear eyes, she felt as if a flower had bloomed in her heart. In the end, her eyes curved into a sweet crescent moon. Him? He's very good to me. Unwu was momentarily stunned. He hummed softly like a mosquito and smiled. You should go back early. I'll meet you guys for dinner another day. Okay. He looked at Yi Er's back as she walked further and further away. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail. When he first met her, it was dyed, but now it was mostly black. The yellow at the bottom was almost cut. Just now she was in front of him. In this season she was wearing a small white shirt and a thin cardigan. The color was the blue of the sky. The white around her chest and collar were exposed outside the blue cardigan. It was like a white cloud floating in the azure sky. That back was getting further and further away. "Brother, are you crying?" And then handed him a handkerchief. Her voice was soft as she did not dare to disturb Unwoo. Unwoo took the handkerchief and turned around. "I'm fine." Was fine. She said that she was very good. The word good came from her eyes. She did not have the sorrow she had when she was lying in the grass. She had her own happiness. He was just a passerby in her life. An insignificant passerby. Luckily he was just a passerby. Luckily. And then followed Unwoo into the hospital. Ouyang Yen was sitting in Yi Er's office. When he saw that Yi Er had returned, he stood up. The bodyguard's face darkened. Ouyang Yen gave him a friendly smile, but his words were a little sarcastic. "Mrs. Jiang, I didn't expect you to hire a bodyguard now that you're a big shot. Jiang Zhao really treats you differently." Yi Er shook his head at the bodyguard, indicating that there was no need for him to chase her away. He walked past Ouyang Yen, raised his chin, and glanced at her contemptuously. Then he walked back to his desk. "Thank you. It's not appropriate to talk about the love between husband and wife, but you insisted on helping me analyze it like this. I feel quite comfortable listening to it." The corner of Ouyang Yan's mouth twitched. "Let me tell you. Don't think I don't know Jiang Zhao is behind this. If he is unhappy he can come at me. Why did he have to harm my grandfather and uncle?" Never cared about Jiang Zhao's work, and Jiang Zhao would not tell her the details of his work when he went home. However, the political situation in High City had changed so much that every family knew about it. Although Jiang Zhao did not take the initiative to admit that he was behind the Ouyang family's incident, Jiang Zhao had said that it would be a tough battle. He had to go all out to bring down his opponent, and this opponent must be Qin Tong. She did not know about other political matters, but she knew that Qin Tong was the mayor, and Jiang Zhao was the deputy mayor. Qin Tong had always been at odds with Jiang Zhao. It was not easy for Jiang Zhao to enter the standing committee. After Qin Tong fell and Jiang Zhao took over, he could successfully enter the standing committee. When Qin Tong fell, many big families would be implicated. The family Ouyang was the first to bear the brunt. They deserved it. But no one would be stupid enough to talk about the political infighting. Wasn't Ouyang Yen in the examination institute? Why did he come to question her? Yi Er did not even raise her head. The TV program was already in full swing. She had to make arrangements for the people in the dance studio. She buried her head in the list and said calmly, "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Moreover, don't you know that the Jiang and Qin families are male chauvinistic rich families? As the daughter-in-law of this family, I don't dare to talk nonsense like you. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Some things you say will be criminally liable. You don't have any evidence and yet you are talking nonsense here. I can sue you for slander." Ouyang Yen wanted to get close to Yi Er's table, but she was stopped by the bodyguards. She could only yell in a ladylike manner across the table. "Slander? A vixen like you dares to sue me for slander? If it weren't for you, would our family Ouyang become like this?" Yi Er did not back down. She raised her head and calmly looked into the eyes of the manic Ouyang Yen. She sneered. "Why don't you say that if it weren't for you, would your family Ouyang become like this?" Beauty novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 699. Ouyang Yen had long realized that all the changes had something to do with Jiang Zhao, and Jiang Zhao's actions were entirely because he was still brooding over the previous incident. But even if she had a vague guess, she was unwilling to be confirmed. At this moment, Yi Er's words were undoubtedly cutting her fair skin with a knife. She had been pampered since she was young, and she couldn't accept that it was her own selfish desires that caused her family to fall. "Yunyi, let me tell you, a woman like you will suffer retribution." She couldn't win against the bodyguard's strength, so she could only vent her dissatisfaction with her words. Yi Er's eyes darkened slightly as she looked down. She said lightly, "Thank you, Miss Ouyang, for your concern. See, you and Jiang Zhao won't have a good ending. You're a burden. What benefits have you and Jiang Zhao brought to him? Don't talk about benefits. You're just a poor person who can't do anything right." Ouyang Yen was trying her best to be sarcastic. Yi Er was still burying her head in the circle, but the hand holding the pen had turned white. "You dragged your family of good-for-nothings to marry Jiang Zhao. Your father has a lot of dirty things behind his back. He's like a pile of shit and you still have the nerve to ask Jiang Zhao to get him out of prison. Once Jiang Zhao made a move, the entire Jiang family shook. You really have the nerve. Is your face thicker than the city walls? You have the nerve? What right do you have? What have you done for Jiang Zhao? Did Jiang Zhao owe you in his previous life? Isn't that mother of yours embarrassing? Isn't it embarrassing that the mother of the mayor's wife ended up like that? Hu and Haiqing didn't relish in talking about her. On the other hand, Hu didn't point at Jiang Zhao's spine and make irresponsible remarks behind his back. Isn't that younger brother of yours supported by Jiang Zhao? Jiang Zhao was also the one who opened the dance studio for you, right? You even went on TV shows? Jiang Zhao was a sucker. He must be an idiot to marry a useless woman like you. Ouyang Yan had finally turned himself into the kind of woman he used to hate the most. A shrew. Ye could hear the Ouyang Yan's roars echoing in her ears. She couldn't hear what he was saying as her ears were buzzing. When she looked up, she saw the Ouyang Yan's face was distorted and he was shouting something at her, but she couldn't hear anything. Throw her out. When Ye lowered her head, her voice was not loud. Even she felt that her voice was very soft. She was afraid that the people in the room could not hear her, so she shouted, "Throw her out." Ye was walking on the street in a daze. The bodyguards were keeping a distance from her. She said she wanted to walk by herself for a while. His neck tilted backward until it could not be tilted any further. His head seemed to be very heavy, and the Yunyi in the sky was all blurry and misty. She wanted to save her father. There was nothing wrong with that, right? This was her motive for getting close to Jiang Zhao. However, she did not expect that her motive would become so impure in the end. She really hoped that there would be some wind at this moment to blow away some of the clouds in the sky. Then there would be some dark clouds and heavy rain. She would just stand here and let the storm wash her clean, washing her until she was 17 years old. At that time the Yun family had not declined. Her father was a modest and elegant businessman. Her mother was the wife of a wealthy family. Her younger brother was smart, cute, innocent and smart. At that time she was the miss of the Yun family. She lived a life of luxury and did not have to do anything. She went to and from elite schools and was picked up by expensive cars. She went to banquets with her classmates in groups of 3 or 5. Everyone called her Miss of Yun University. At that time, although the Yun family and the Jiang family were still far apart, at least they were well matched in terms of social status. At least she was not a burden. The phone in her handbag was ringing and ringing. It went from a blurry ringtone to a clear ringtone. She did not know how many times it had rung, however, when she picked up the phone, the man on the other end sounded anxious. Yunyi, what's wrong? Zhao. When she picked up the phone, she did not even look at the caller ID. When she heard the man's voice, she could not help but smile. Do you miss me? Let go of her hand. The man did not seem to like her acting coquettishly. He was still angry. You're still in the mood to joke around? Why didn't you pick up the phone for so long? Did something happen? A warm feeling rose in her heart. I'm on the street outside. I didn't hear you. Don't be angry. Which street are you on? I'll pick you up. She looked at the position of the sun in the sky and held the phone in front of her. The time was displayed at the top of the screen. She put the phone to her ear again. What's the matter? It's not time to get off work yet. Grandpa is having dinner with the Han family tonight. In order to make it seem official, everyone in the family has to attend. The Han family? The Han family that has a marriage agreement with Shen Xian? Yes. Grandpa is the peacemaker. The Shen family is hosting this dinner. They want to annul Shen Xian's marriage. Ye sighed softly. Annulling an engagement. Actually, there's no marriage certificate. That kind of verbal marriage has no legal effect. They don't have to do this, right? They can just say hello. When the family Min annulled the engagement, they only mentioned it briefly. It's not the same. After Jiang Zhao picked up Ye, he sat in the car and continued what they had discussed on the phone. This is not an ordinary family annulling an engagement. It has no legal effect, but it will hurt the harmony between the families. The Shen family is most afraid of hurting the harmony between the families. The Shen family has already suffered a lot because of Shen Xian's dowry. How can they offend the other families? Ye's hand was still nestled in Jiang Zhao's dry and warm hand. She tilted her head and gazed at him. Her smile was full of admiration. Grandpa is really amazing. He can even meddle in this kind of matter. Jiang Zhao was driving with one hand. He squeezed the little woman's hand and stroked her fingers with his thumb. His gaze fell on the traffic in front of him. It was rare for him to be so calm. He smiled. He has no choice. The position is there. As the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, he has his prestige. A person's position and responsibility are proportional. If he couldn't find a way to resolve the conflict between the families, how could he have been in this position for so many years? Moreover, this matter is beneficial to the Qin family. Yi Er didn't understand. Beneficial? The Shen family's 100 billion dowry can be given to the Pei family. It has nothing to do with the Qin family at all. Why do they have to run around and cause trouble? Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er's interested expression. His eyes were full of love as he carefully analyzed the situation for her. He was afraid that he would miss out on some details that would be difficult for her to understand. After listening to Jiang Zhao's explanation, Yi Er finally understood why Qin Rongfang was so dedicated. If Shen Xian could successfully marry into the Pei family and avoid the danger of going to jail, then the Shen family would naturally be grateful. And this matter was orchestrated by Qin Rongfang from the beginning to the end. From then on, the Qin family would have another powerful brother like the Shen family in Haicheng. In the past, although they lowered their heads and met face to face, they definitely couldn't be considered family friends. Now it was different. And now, the marriage between Feiyu and the Pei family was a foregone conclusion. The Qin family and the Shen family were even more related. In Haicheng, the Han family was indeed not to be underestimated. However, the Pei family in the south was the real prestigious family. It was natural that they wouldn't help the Han family because Shen Xian's chess game was already set. She could either marry into a vegetative state and accept punishment to atone for her sins or go to jail. There was no choice. Even if the Shen family was unwilling, they couldn't compete with the Pei family's power. After all, the incident happened in City Ji and not Haicheng. There was no room for negotiation. The chess game was already set. The Qin family was just doing a favor. Why would they bother to do something that was strenuous and unrewarding? The dinner that night didn't become friendly because of Qin Rongfang's prestige. Instead, the smell of gunpowder was quite strong. This gunpowder wasn't from the Shen family, but from the Han family. In the super luxurious room of Haiyu restaurant, the oxygen in the air was getting thinner and thinner. There were 2 tables. The elders and the parents, as well as the main cause of the incident, sat at one table. The juniors like the grandchildren sat at the other table. It seemed dispensable, but it symbolized the importance of the Han family. Old Master Shen and Shen Xiong had actually hinted many times about breaking off the engagement. However, Han Qiang didn't agree no matter what, so Old Master Han didn't agree. Once this matter came out, what Han Qiang couldn't accept the most was that Shen Xian was forced to marry a vegetative state after breaking off the engagement with him. No matter what, he wouldn't break off the engagement. Even if the sky fell, he wouldn't do it. Qin Rongfang didn't expect Han Qiang to be so stubborn. A few elders tried to persuade him, but it only made Han Qiang angrier. His beautiful peach blossom eyes were very intense at this time. His angry look could be seen at a glance. He slammed the table and stood up. His voice was very loud. Why? Shen Xian. She's my fiancée. Everyone in Haicheng knows that the woman I, Han Qiang, will marry in the future is Shen Xian. Why should I give her to someone else? Don't even think about it. Don't think that you can ruin things just because you're respected. Qin Rongfang was really helpless. He glanced at Shen Xiong. The other party also looked troubled, so he could only brace himself and face the difficulties. Usually, it was okay to deal with some old guys, but when faced with hot-blooded young men who looked like they were guarding their territory, it was still an unusual headache. He raised his hand and pressed down. Qiang listened to Grandpa Qin. Han Qiang's mood at this moment was both suppressed and painful. Facing the elders who he usually lowered his head to greet, he couldn't talk about respecting the elders at this time. He only said arrogantly, "Talk about what? There's no talk. There's no discussion about giving in to my wife. I'm going to Ji City now. I must bring Shen Xian back." Jiang Zhao calmly picked up the food with his chopsticks and put it into Yi Er's bowl. As if he didn't hear the argument at the table behind him, he put his left hand on Yi Er's leg and rubbed it. He said gently, "If you don't eat something now, you'll definitely be hungry later." Add Songshu 566. Chapter 700. Yi Er didn't know whether he should eat or not. If he ate at this juncture, wouldn't it show that he wasn't following the rules? If he didn't eat, he would be letting Jiang Zhao down. As if seeing through Yi Er's thoughts, Jiang Zhao nudged Qin Fian who was sitting beside him. "Fian, eat." Qin Fian was taken aback. "Bro, that's not very good, right? They can make a fuss. We'll eat our food." Jiang Zhao started to eat first. Qin Fian could only follow behind, risking his life to accompany the gentleman. Usually, there were many rules in the family clans here, especially those close to each other. It seemed that every family's rules were more or less the same. At this time, the elders of the Qin family, Shen family and Han family were all present. That table hadn't started eating yet, but the younger generation's table had already started eating? Shen Kai, who had been thinking about something troubling him, also raised his chopsticks. Eat. And so, the younger generation all started eating. Let's eat then. Feiyu was sullen the whole time, only eating in small bites. Qin Fian couldn't help it. He asked Feiyu if she had something on her mind. Feiyu only shook her head, then said that she was revising her lessons, not communicating with him. A girl's thoughts were hard to guess. The younger generation at the table all picked up their chopsticks, but the background of the table behind them suddenly changed, as if the surging heavy metal music had suddenly turned into a mournful eru. Shen Xiong was the least spirited one. He was holding a handkerchief tightly in his hand, trembling unsteadily. In his somewhat dark eyes there were some tears. He wanted to speak a few times, but because he was afraid that he would be too sad, he couldn't open his mouth. Qin Rongfang couldn't bear to see him like that. He turned to Han Qiang and said, "Qiang, do you think old Shen is willing to give his granddaughter was going to marry a vegetative person? The Shen clan only has one daughter. She's the only one in the entire house. She's the only one." When Shen Xiong heard Qin Rongfang's words, he quickly lowered his eyes and looked at his own legs. He rubbed his handkerchief against his nose and tears fell. When he thought about how his granddaughter would have to serve a vegetable for the rest of her life, his heart felt like someone was cutting it with a knife. It hurt terribly. When Han Qiang saw Shen Xiong's sadness, his body trembled and he slowly sat down. Qin Rongfang sighed, "But he only has one girl in his house, so he can't possibly send her to jail, right? Although little Shen had married a vegetable, but you'll have to spend time in a place like prison, right?" Han Qiang gritted his teeth and said, "Grandpa Qin, our Han family can also pay. I want to get Shen Xian back." Qin Rongfang could see that Han Qiang cared about Shen Xian very much. He didn't come here to pester Han Qiang endlessly because he was ashamed of breaking off the engagement. His words became more sincere and meaningful. "Qiang, if money could solve the problem, would your grandpa Shen take this step? That's his biological granddaughter. Because of this matter, he didn't get out of bed for many days. He couldn't bear to scold or hit that girl. Sai, the Pei family isn't an ordinary family. They have money and power, so they don't care about those things. What they want is to vent their anger. If they don't vent their anger, little Shen won't be safe. You have to know that Pei Jincheng was hit by that girl. It's a fact that the back of his head was injured, and it's also a fact that he's in a vegetative state. She deliberately hurt him and caused serious consequences. This punishment isn't light. You like her. At this juncture, only her safety is the most important thing. Nothing else is important." Han Qiang left before the dinner officially started. Before he left, he agreed to break off the engagement. In Ji City, the Pei family was quickly preparing for the wedding. Pei Li spent a lot of money to hire a wax figure master to make 6 wax figures of Pei Jincheng. They were to be used in 4 different poses for the wedding photos, one for the church wedding and one for the Chinese traditional costume at the wedding banquet. Shen Xian had just wiped Pei Jincheng's body with water and helped him put on his clothes again. She was sweating profusely. Before she had time to rest, she was called to try on the wedding dress again. During this process, she didn't say that she was tired. She also knew that there were some things that could be done by a nurse or a servant, but Pei Li wanted her to do it personally. She knew that the Pei family was venting their anger. She had to make up for her mistake. Her moment of anger ruined the happiness of 2 families. She knew it all. Since she was young, there was no one thing that made her understand this word so deeply. It was too late to regret. The me in the end. Although it was too late to regret it, she could only have no complaints. She didn't go to a high-end custom-made wedding dress shop to try on the wedding dress. Instead, the wedding dress shop brought all the wedding dresses to the Pei residence and sent them to Pei Jincheng's garden. Wudong Yuan for Shen Xian to try on. There were wax figures photos placed in front of Shen Xian. According to the man's clothing style and color in the photo, she chose the most matching wedding dress. There were 6 photos in her hand. Shen Xian couldn't help but be a little absent-minded. This man was really good-looking. If outsiders knew that such an outstanding man was beaten into a vegetative state by her, would those women who adored him when she went out in the future? Would he die without a complete corpse? Feiyu was in a bad mood. Qin Fian hugged Feiyu and coaxed her. "Little Yu, smile for your brother?" I won't be reserved if I smile too much. Fei Yu still didn't seem to be energetic. He smiled and continued to tease her. What do you want to play? Tell me. I'll take you. I want to go home and sleep. I have an exam tomorrow. Xin Fian felt that he was being ignored. Fine. Let's go home. He stood up and said to Jiang Zhao. My little ancestor wants to go home. My little ancestor wants to go home. Jiang Zhao pulled Yi Er and stood up. Let's go. Let's go together. They should also leave. The few elders stayed behind to continue the discussion. When they just left Haiyu restaurant, Jiang Zhao's phone rang. He frowned. It was a call from the doctor at the hospital. He answered. Dr. Zhao, why are you calling so late? Before he could finish, the person on the other end of the phone said. Mayor Jiang, you need to come to the hospital immediately. The patient's condition suddenly worsened. Her heart rate suddenly became weak. I'm afraid she might not be able to get through this. Jiang Zhao's face darkened. Yi Er, who was beside him, had stood on his tiptoes to eavesdrop on Jiang Zhao when he heard the words Dr. Zhao. At this time his legs went soft. The car sped through the hazy and chaotic night. Yi Er didn't say anything. She appeared to be very calm, unusually calm. Jiang Zhao took a deep breath for a long time before he dared to exhale. His mind was filled with uneasiness and his brain was in a mess. When they reached the hospital, Jiang Zhao ran faster than Yi Er. He was worried about something. Yi Er was still sitting quietly on the bench along the corridor. She looked at Jiang Zhao, who was pacing back and forth in front of her. She smiled. Zhao, sit down for a while. It's okay. Don't worry. When Jiang Zhao saw Yi Er's smile, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. He did not know why Yi Er's smile was like a poisoned arrow. Her face was pale and her lips were drained of color. Her hands were gripping the sides of the seat so tightly that it felt like she was going to break the seat. Her hair was a little loose and it looked like she was really hurt. But she was smiling at him as though she was comforting him. It was just like in the past when she had to please him even though she was hurt. Jiang Zhao felt like something was wrong. That strange feeling rose and fell in his chest like a huge wave crashing against his heart. The wind suddenly blew and the waves crashed against him. He was in so much pain that his willpower almost couldn't withstand the huge impact. Yunyi, Jiang Zhao pulled up his trousers and squatted down in front of Yi Er. He called out in a low and hoarse voice. He pried her hands off the sides of the seat and held them in his palms. Yunyi, don't be like this. Zhao, what's wrong? I'm telling you not to worry. My father will be fine. Yi Er's eyes were curved. Under the light of the corridor lamp, the light in her eyes was even brighter. Her eyes were watery, and the corners of her mouth were curved into a gentle and lovely curve. She pulled her hands out of Jiang Zhao's large hands and stroked his eyebrows, nose and lips. Every stroke was synonymous with handsome. She loved it so much. Really, she loved it so much. Sometimes she felt like she was going crazy. She loved him so much. After being scolded by the Ouyang Yen, any self-respecting woman would be ashamed. But she couldn't help it. She loved him so much. Yes, it'll be fine. The man grabbed the woman's trembling hands, wrapped them and pressed them against his face. He didn't even dare to believe it himself, but he firmly captured the woman's gaze and told her that it would be fine. Yi Er nodded slowly. She looked at the man squatting in front of her. His body swayed back and forth as though he was swaying very easily. But the voice that came from the bottom of her heart was bitter. Zhao, do you like children? I do. What about you? I'm still a child myself, but I quite like children. My little brother, he's so cute, isn't he? He was even cuter when he was young. When my mother gave birth to him, I was already 10 years old. He was just a little bit old. I still remember it. Really, he was just a little bit old. The first person my little brother would call wasn't Daddy or Mommy. The first person he would call was Big Sister. Yi Er's face broke into a smile. Her gaze was reminiscing about the past as she drifted away. Jiang Zhao squeezed Yi Er's hands, forcefully suppressing the surging uneasiness in his heart. Zijia is very cute. Our future children will be very cute too. Grandma said that you gave birth to a girl. I like it very much. Yi Er nodded. Once, twice, faster and faster. It was as though the tears in her eyes couldn't stop. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 701. Yunyi, I'm sorry. He put his hand to his lips. He didn't know how inappropriate his words were. He lowered his head and muttered repeatedly. Hearing this apology again, Yi Er's heart trembled violently. She shook her head. She wanted to distract herself, but the face in front of her was her husband and then her father. That sentence hovered in her ears. Who are you going to choose? Who are you going to choose? Seeing the obvious self-blame in his eyes, who are you going to choose? Thinking of her father struggling on the verge of death, who are you going to choose? Sigh, I'm sorry. In the past he would still discuss her father's case with her. Sometimes, even if she didn't mention it, he would still say something to comfort her. But this time, when Qin Tong fell from the horse, he almost didn't tell her the whole story. He had been calmly handling his affairs without any scruples. Without the scruples he had in the past, he was a merciless chess player. It was as if her father had never been a chess piece in this game. His methods were ruthless and decisive, and his speed was shocking. He almost didn't give Qin Tong any chance to counterattack. Every move was fatal. Everyone fell except for her father. He had always been calm and collected. He would block soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. It turned out that she was so sensitive. She was so sensitive that she could guess his thoughts with just a sentence and a sigh. Yi Er lowered her head. She wanted to sleep. Once she fell asleep, her father would wake up, and everything would return to the beginning. But the door of the emergency room opened. Seeing the doctor's expression and the helplessness when his shoulders drooped, he walked over. Jianghu stood up. Yi Er didn't hear what the doctor said. She only saw the doctor's lips open and close. He frowned and seemed to be powerless to comfort her. Yi Er stood up, turned around and walked to the other end of the corridor. At this moment, her footsteps quickened. She heard the sound of the waves. Actually, she wanted to go to Hawaii for her honeymoon. She just liked the name. She had been to many places before, but she had never been to other places with Jianghu. Other than G City, he was very busy. There was also the sound of the spatula stirring in the wok as the vegetables were poured into the wok. She could calmly cover the lid of the wok or wait for the flame to extinguish by itself before continuing to stir-fry. The sound of the stainless steel and the iron smashing against each other was filled with happy notes. Jianghu loved to eat the dishes she cooked and said that she was a great chef. That kind of life was very beautiful. The sound of panting was the product of a man's passion before, during, and after passion. She was fascinated by it and could even hear his unbearable groans, followed by kisses. Those kisses were soft and fragmented with soft sounds, followed by his faint murmurs, yunyi yunyi. Her arm was grabbed, then pulled, and she crashed into that embrace. It was both familiar and unfamiliar. She gripped the man's collar tightly, gritted her teeth, and squeezed out a voice from her lungs. I'll go back and cook. I'll give it to you when I get back. Cook for you. Yunyi. The man hugged the woman in his arms like that. It was as if he was hugging a murderous weapon with large spikes all over its body. He hugged her tightly in his arms and used his chin to knock against her chin. Yunyi. The elevator door opened with a ding sound. The weapon began to tremble as if it had been injected with some kind of divine power. It struggled fiercely. I want to go back. Yunyi, listen to me. Wait a moment, I'll get someone to pick you up. I'll deal with it here. Deal with what? Yi Er raised her head, but she couldn't see the man above her head clearly. She only knew that there were water droplets dripping on her face, drop by drop, continuously dripping onto her face. Her chin kept trembling, and her teeth kept clattering against each other, making a low tap 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 sound. She looked at him in confusion, and her brows were furrowed in disbelief. Deal with what? What do you want to deal with here? I want to go home. What are you still doing here? You've watched for so long today. It's enough. Come again tomorrow. Come again tomorrow. Looking at Yi Er's self-deceiving and painful appearance, Jianghu felt that his heart had turned into a piece of cloth. Yi Er's eyes were filled with inquiry, doubt, and hatred, but they were all covered up by deep pain. That gaze was like a hand stuck in the gap of the fabric of his heart. She exerted a little force and he could hear a chi-la sound from his heart. She exerted another force and there was another sound from his heart. Then it was a long chi sound. The sound of something breaking. When she pulled it all the way to the end, the edge of the pain was the edge of the broken hair. It couldn't go back to how it was before. Yunyi, the rescue is ineffective. He pressed the woman's head against his collarbone. He didn't dare to look into her eyes again. He didn't dare to at all. He was so cowardly that he hated himself. You lied to me. He pushed her hard and rushed into the elevator. It was unknown how cold-resistant a person was to be able to survive year after year in a world of ice and snow. Then they would grow up, mature and age. Generation after generation they would survive like this. Life was a force that couldn't be underestimated. However, Yi Er felt that her life force wasn't that tenacious. She was a little numb from the cold. Snowflakes were floating in the sky, and ice shards were falling. At this time the wind was like a knife with ice shards. It scraped her face, tore her clothes, and hurt her entire body. After being in pain for a long time, she felt that it was so painful. Why did she still want to live? Because of this thought, her heart ached. Because so many people didn't feel pain, didn't suffer, and were happy. Every family had daily necessities. In the morning they had soy milk and steamed buns. In the afternoon they had fast food boxes for lunch. In the evening their parents would disturb them. They talked about their studies, classmates, work, colleagues, and whose dogs in the community had gone missing. The owner was so worried that they cried, and so on and so forth. Every day their families were dull and boring, but they were happy and blissful. That was something that she couldn't get even if she begged for it. Now she didn't even have a part of it. She had been trying so hard to preserve it, but now she didn't even have a part of it. Fian, come to the hospital. Yes, the hospital where my father-in-law is. Jianghu held Yi Er with one hand and hung up the call with the other. Yi Er refused to go back to the hospital no matter what. She walked out with all her might. Jianghu had no choice but to call Qin Fian and ask him to come over and deal with Yun Hongwei's matter. When a person suffered a huge blow, they would try to escape from reality. They would use another action to cover up the unacceptable truth. Just like Yi Er now. She felt that if she wasn't in the hospital, the fact that Yun Hongwei's rescue was ineffective would not be valid. As long as she pretended not to hear, it wouldn't become the truth. Time would turn back. She would think that if she had done something at this time, things wouldn't have turned out this way. When Qin Fian rushed to the hospital, Yi Er had fallen asleep in Jianghu's arms. Jianghu sat on the large sofa in the waiting room. Yi Er was lying on his lap, her head resting on his shoulder. Her long legs were placed on the sofa. This position wasn't comfortable to sleep in, but it looked like she was still asleep. Actually, Jianghu knew that she wasn't asleep. She just didn't want to open her eyes. She didn't want to talk to anyone. She didn't want to hear anyone talk. She didn't want to hear anyone talk about the fact that Yun Hongwei had already passed away. Qin Fian wasn't stupid. When Jianghu was focused on killing Qin Tong, he knew that Yun Hongwei wouldn't wake up so easily. Otherwise, if Jianghu cared so much about Yi Er, how could he ignore Yun Hongwei's situation? After all, it wasn't easy for him to get medical parole. There were already people criticizing him. Qin Tong's family involved Yun Hongwei. The Qin and Jiang families had analyzed this before. That was why they had been slowing down their actions or not taking any action at all, waiting for the matter to die down. Since everyone understood this logic, how could Jianghu not understand it? But he had attacked his opponent ruthlessly at this juncture. This meant that he didn't have any worries. If a married couple had a harmonious relationship and didn't have any worries, then there was only one possibility. Yun Hongwei wouldn't wake up so soon. But the difference between not waking up so soon and never waking up was too big. Qin Fian didn't even say a word. He only glanced at Jianghu in the waiting room, his eyes red as he hugged Yi Er. He adjusted his glasses and left. He quickly found a doctor and went through the relevant procedures. Jianghu hugged Yi Er in his arms. It was different from the last time with the Ouyang Yen. At that time she was forced to be in his arms. This time, although she struggled at first, she fell into his arms willingly and slept. Although he could see her eyes moving from time to time under her eyelids and the tears at the corners of her eyes never dried, she didn't struggle again. But even though she was quiet, he could still feel the aggressive nails all over her body. Yunyi. The cuffs of his sleeves gently rubbed the corners of her eyes. Yi Er closed her eyes. After hearing this, the corners of her mouth moved slightly. She moved in the man's arms and leaned in. It seemed that she didn't find the right position, so she simply shrank down and rested her head on the man's lap. Her body curled up and her face buried in his stomach. She sobbed and choked. I'm a cloud. I float here and there. I don't have a fixed place. I'm just a cloud. Now I feel that my surname is Yun. It's so sad. Her low voice was just like her words. It was so sad. In an instant, the cloud started to rain, wetting the man's clothes. Jianghu didn't know how to catch this cloud. Betrayal could be corrected, forgiven, and found evidence to clear his name. But what about the revenge of killing his father? He held her hand and didn't dare to let go for a moment. The pain continued to spread. He tilted his head and looked out the window. It was already night time and there were no clouds in sight. It seemed that there was no hope left. The man's voice was hoarse as if he was complaining. Yunyi, you're a cloud, but in my sky you're the only cloud. Attention Xingwu 799. Chapter 702. His sigh was the sound of air being squeezed out of his lungs. It sounded and then slowly stopped. Yi stayed quietly on Jiang Zhao's lap, no longer moving. She just listened to Jiang Zhao's breathing, felt his warmth and touch, so carefully, so caressing. She hated her own sensitivity, hated her own cowardice. She didn't go to Yun Hongwei's body to say goodbye. She told him to cremate it and didn't have a funeral. She just set up a tombstone at the public cemetery and then brought Si Jie to kneel in front of Yun Hongwei's grave. She didn't say anything. She just told Si Jie, "Si Jie, this is your father, always will be." Everything was so simple that it was as if the tragedy had never happened. Yi started to get busy. She was so busy that she ate and slept in the dance studio. Whenever she had a little free time, she would run to the television station. With her sharp and capable appearance, no one could tell that this was a woman whose father had just passed away. Yi's only free time was to pick up Si Jie on Friday afternoon and then take him out for a big meal. When they were tired from playing, she would take Si Jie to a hotel and treat it as a vacation. This time, Jiang Zhao didn't rely on Yi like last time. 3 times a day, 3 times a day, 3 times a call. He just asked if she was busy, if she was tired, if she had eaten, when she was going to sleep, and then said good night to each other. "Brother, why don't I go talk to sister-in-law and then tell her that we have to eat at home? Then she can't hide from you." Jiang Zhao stood in front of his desk, bent over, looking for something in the pile of documents on the table. He seemed to be teasing him. "Fian, the weather is getting hot. Your swimming product is also in peak season. When are you going to treat me to a meal?" Qin Fian looked at Jiang Zhao, who didn't answer his question, and shook his head. He sighed. "Brother, what are you guys doing? Last time, when the Ouyang Yin incident happened, I didn't see you like this. Sit down and have a good talk with sister-in-law." Jiang Zhao continued to cover for him. He dug a hole in the table and still could not find what he was looking for. He rubbed his forehead and massaged it. "It's not like you don't know that your sister-in-law doesn't have time now. She's extremely busy. She wants to do that show well, so just let her do it. She doesn't even want to go to school now. Brother, what the hell are you doing?" Qin Fian picked up a book from the pile of teaching materials in front of him and slammed it on the table. He looked at Jiang Zhao angrily. Jiang Zhao raised his head. His eye sockets were slightly sunken, and his handsome face was slightly thin. Even if he was clean-shaven, his hair was neatly trimmed, and his clothes were meticulous. However, no matter how one looked at him, he looked a little tired. Qin Fian frowned. "Look at you. You don't look like a human or a ghost." "Last time, the Ouyang Yin incident didn't even make you look like this." Jiang Zhao heard this and sat down on his chair. He leaned against the chair and looked up at the ceiling. He was still holding an uncapped fountain pen in his hand. The tip of the fountain pen was stuck on the wooden armrest. The expensive fountain pen was bent and forked. His knuckles were white, and his voice sounded like he was in a trance. "Fian, the acting mayor has been appointed. He will take office next week. In July I will be the mayor." Qin Fian sighed. "I know. Everyone in the family knows. This is not your fault. Fian, the price is too high. Can't bear it." He did not expect such a big change. Qin Fian's back stiffened. He had never heard Jiang Zhao say, "can't bear it" before. He could not imagine what it was like when Jiang Zhao said, "can't bear it." "Brother, some things are out of your control. It's useless to blame yourself. Also, you have been trying your best. Sister-in-law can understand." Jiang Zhao smiled. His smile was dry and stiff. He was still looking at the ceiling as if he was very tired. "How can I understand? What if it was you? Can you understand? She's like this now. What can I say to her? Don't you understand that if I talk to her, it will be a divorce? Actually, she knows everything. But she just doesn't want to verify it with me. She just doesn't want to break this piece of paper. She has been deceiving herself. She is suffering more than anyone else. Do you think she is stupid? She has never been stupid. Sometimes she is like a little fox. Her heart is clear. Ichen asked me to invite you to the top floor of the Garden Hotel to sunbathe and drink tea. The weather is good now. It's almost time to get off work. Let's go together." Jiang Zhao stood up. "That's good too. Let's go out and sit. Wait for me to get Li Ran to tidy up here. Let's go together." Jiang Zhao came out of the building and bumped into Zhou Li, who was dressed elegantly and beautifully. "Jiang Zhao?" "Yes." Jiang Zhao could not be friendly to Zhou Li. He just responded faintly and then took a step back to distance himself from her. Qin Fian stood to the side and did not greet Zhou Li. "Jiang Zhao, where are you going?" "I have something to talk to you about." "Yes, I have something to do. Why are you looking for me?" He knew that it was impossible for Yi Er to stay with Zhou Li. Moreover, the bodyguard kept reporting Yi Er's whereabouts. Yi Er did not like Zhou Li either. Zhou Li looked at Qin Fian awkwardly. Qin Fian pouted. He pouted. He shrugged and tactfully retreated. He went to the parking space and got into the car. Zhou Li watched Qin Fian leave and then looked at Jiang Zhao. Even though she was wearing high heels, there was still a big difference in height between her and Yi Er. Therefore, when she looked at the tall Jiang Zhao, she felt a little tired. Especially Jiang Zhao's aura, it always made her feel incomparably oppressed. Jiang Zhao, I want to apply for a spa card recently, but Yi Er is unwilling to give me money. I haven't traveled in a long time. You know, I don't have a job. You want cash? Jiang Zhao asked directly. You want to give me a card? Zhou Li's eyes suddenly lit up. Give me your card number and I'll transfer it to you. Jiang Zhao only wanted to send Zhou Li away quickly. The more he looked at her, the more uncomfortable he felt. Zhou Li immediately took out a card from her bag and handed it to Jiang Zhao. She smiled politely. This number. Jiang Zhao did not take the card. Send the number and name to my phone. I'll transfer it to you tonight. Ah? Tonight? Then what if you forgot? Let's go. Jiang Zhao turned around impatiently and strode toward the parking space. After driving away, Zhou Li was so anxious that she stomped her feet. She quickly hailed a taxi and followed him. In the car, Zhou Li sent her card number to Jiang Zhao. She did not receive a single reply. What a guy. This son-in-law is trying to cheat me. Zhou Li's days were especially torturous. Now that her daughter was not around, her son-in-law was starting to give her a hard time. Zhou Li called Jiang Zhao but he did not pick up. Zhou Li had no choice but to chase after Jiang Zhao's car all the way to Garden Hotel. When she got out of the car, Jiang Zhao was nowhere to be seen. Not even a ghost could be found. After a long time, she suddenly had an idea. She raised her chin proudly and walked to the reception like a rich lady. I am Zhou Li, Mayor Jiang Zhao's mother-in-law. He has arrived. Please bring me to him. I am afraid he will get anxious from waiting for me. Even if Zhou Li was not Jiang Zhao's mother-in-law, there were many people who did not know about Yun Yi. But there were not many people who did not know about Zhou Li. She likes to attend fashion parties and everyone said she had a youthful face. She would often teach people beauty tips, and she would appear in magazines from time to time. But she could not contact Jiang Zhao's mother-in-law. Zhou Li looked at the reception staff and said, My daughter is Yun Yi. She is Jiang Zhao's wife. After saying that, she opened her wallet. It was a photo of Yi Er and Jiang Zhao. See, just bring me there. Later there will be people from the Qin family coming over. If you can't find the place, you can also bring them over. Miss from the reception staff quickly led Zhou Li to the lift and brought her to the top floor of the 38th floor. There were flowers and plants in the glass house and it was a different feeling. Especially from such a high place, one could look down from above. When Jiang Zhao saw Zhou Li, his face changed. Miss from the reception staff felt cold and said, Mayor Jiang, I have brought her over. Who asked you to bring her over? Miss from the reception staff was trembling. The approachable Mayor Jiang looked like he was going to eat someone. His face looked like it was covered with a layer of molten iron. Okay. You can leave now. Qin Fian pointed to Miss from the reception staff. When there were only Zhuang, Jiang, Qin and Zhou Li left, Zhou Li questioned Jiang Zhao. Why didn't you answer my calls and reply to my messages? Jiang Zhao was furious and wanted to kick the stool. He did not expect this woman to comfort Yi Er at this time. All she had was money. He had promised to give her money, but she still refused to leave. I had said that I will transfer the money to you at night. You don't need to reply to my messages. You can leave now. I have something to attend to. Jiang Zhao, I am telling you. If you don't transfer the money to me now, I will make sure you regret it. What's there to regret? I had said that I will transfer the money to you at night. I have something to discuss with you now. I did not bring my laptop with me. Jiang Zhao swore that if it wasn't for the fact that this woman was his mother-in-law, he would have personally thrown her out. Zhuang Yichen sat at his original spot and did not move. He was watching this farce unfold. You are trying to fool me. Do you think I don't know? Jiang Zhao was too lazy to explain. On the bulletproof glass-like medium-sized round table, the aroma of tea filled the air. There were 4 chairs around the table. Zhuang Yichen and Qin Fian sat on 2 chairs. Jiang Zhao pulled out 1 chair and sat down. Zhou Li was irritated by Jiang Zhao's attitude. She turned around and walked away. She took out her phone and made a call. Jiang Zhao had just taken a sip of tea when he heard Zhou Li's loud voice coming from the elevator. Mommy is telling you that your father's death was caused by Jiang Zhao. He and Zhuang Yichen discussed stopping your father's treatment so that he would not wake up when he was sentenced. That way they could appease you on the surface. Mommy heard it from outside the private room in the tea room. Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen had already jumped up from their chairs and rushed to the elevator when they heard the words, Jiang Zhao caused your father's death. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 703. Jiang Zhao was the first to grab the phone, while Zhuang Yichen viciously reached out and grabbed Zhou Li's neck. Zhou Li's eyes immediately rolled back into her head. Qin Fian anxiously tried to pry Zhuang Yichen's hand away. Yichen, calm down. This is a public place. Jiang Zhao picked up the phone and was so anxious that he was incoherent. Hello Yunyi, listen to me. There was a dead tone on the other end of the line. He tried calling again but the phone was turned off. Yi Er was in the rehearsal room at the TV station. She was doing spot checks and practicing with Xiaoya. At this moment she was discussing what kind of dance should be paired with what kind of costumes, and what kind of fabric should be used to achieve the best stage effect. The two of them cooperated very well. Each of them had their own opinions on their own areas of expertise. Then they combined their opinions and made the final decision. Receiving Zhou Li's call was an accident, because Zhou Li only called her when she needed money. Just as she was about to pick up the phone and say that she didn't have any money, she heard this. Then she hung up and turned off her phone. Xiaoya was a little flustered. She watched as Yi Er walked out of the rehearsal room expressionlessly with her phone in her hand. You could say that she was expressionless, but her face was full of tears. Xiaoya knew that the situation wasn't good, so she called Jiang Zhao. At this moment, Jiang Zhao was using his phone to call other places where Yi Er might be. Xiaoya called Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen picked up the phone and said in a bad mood, "What's the matter? Can you find Jiang Zhao? Yi Er's situation is very bad. Where are you?" In the rehearsal room at the TV station. She ran out of the TV station now. I have to chase after her and find Jiang Zhao. I have to get her to contact me. Okay, then hurry up. Where's her bodyguard? It was the rehearsal room just now. The bodyguard isn't inside. Hurry up and tell him to follow you. All right. Xiaoya liked to wear high heels because she wasn't as tall as Yi Er. Wearing high heels made her look like a queen. She liked that feeling, but chasing someone in high heels didn't make sense at all. She kicked off her shoes and chased after Yi Er, who was running towards the parking lot. Yi Er knew what he was thinking about during this period of time. Even though he was very busy, he couldn't help but think about his father when he was free. There was a tacit understanding between her and Jiang Zhao, and no one was willing to break it. She vaguely knew why he was free to deal with Chen Tong during that period of time. She associated it with the guilt that surfaced from time to time. Her father was clearly showing signs of waking up, but he suddenly acted abnormally and his condition fell into a deadlock again. She didn't ask and he didn't answer. He didn't even console her. All he felt was guilt. With Jiang Zhao's strong and domineering personality, he wouldn't just keep quiet and not defend himself. If she didn't understand him, he would directly take her home and lock her up. How would he be so indulgent like now? Just like last time with the Ouyang Yan incident. Even if she caught him in bed, he could say that he didn't remember anything. He didn't admit it because deep down he felt that he wasn't wrong. But this time he didn't. Other than guilt, there was only guilt. The tacit understanding between them was flawless. Neither of them was willing to break that layer of cruel paper. He wasn't willing and she was even more unwilling. They were both living a life of self-deception. They thought that as long as they didn't break it, they would still be husband and wife. The word husband and wife had a different meaning. At least to them it was different. It was faith and reliance. But now that this layer of paper was broken, it was clearly just a layer of paper. She always thought that there was nothing behind the paper. But when she broke it, she realized that what came out was blood and viscous. She never wanted to admit that her father's death had something to do with Jiang Zhao. Even if her father was a burden to Jiang Zhao, one was the man she loved the most, and the other was her father. Who was she supposed to choose? Timdi. God must be blind to let her do such a multiple-choice question. Yura bit her lips so hard that they bled. The clothes on her chest were wet from the water dripping from her chin, but she didn't make a single sound. She wished that the cries she had swallowed at this moment were all poison that could rot one's intestines and stomach. Qin Fian chased after Jiang Zhao and realized that Zhuang Yichen didn't follow. He turned around and felt that something was wrong. He was worried about Jiang Zhao, so when he ran towards Jiang Zhao's car, He called Zhuang Yichen's cell phone. "Yichen, what do you want?" Zhuang Yichen's voice was as cold as a knife. "You haven't even finished your tea. Do you think it's so cheap to book a glass room for a day? I never spend money for nothing." Qin Fian heard Zhuang Yichen's voice and suddenly had a bad feeling. Zhuang Yichen had always been ruthless. He could even deal with his biological father and half-brother without frowning, let alone a woman like Zhou Li who had nothing to do with him. But Zhou Li was Yi Er's mother, and today she came to look for Jiang Zhao. "Yichen, Zhou Li is my sister-in-law's mother." I'm just drinking tea. Don't tell me about your family matters. I'm not interested." Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone. He was still in the glass room at the edge of the corner of the building. He put his hands on the glass railing and looked down. There were ants in the building. Jiang Zhao had been in a bad mood recently. He could guess the reason even if Jiang Zhao didn't say it. After Yun Hongwei's death, Yun Yi didn't return to Ninth Mansion. At first he didn't believe it, but later he investigated and found out that Yun Yi ate and lived in the dance studio. She also stayed in a hotel when she picked up her brother on weekends. As a person in the situation, he knew what was going on. Logically speaking, he was also responsible for this matter. He didn't feel anything about Yun Hongwei's death. He didn't need to feel sad for someone who had nothing to do with him. But he never expected that Zhou Li would overhear their meeting in a place like the tea room. Yun Hongwei only stopped the treatment and suddenly died in a short period of time. This was an outcome he didn't expect. After his death, the forensic doctor also did an autopsy. The medication was normal and it wasn't due to lack of oxygen. Then it must be a natural death. "After you heard my conversation with Jiang Zhao, who did you tell?" Zhuang Yichen didn't turn around and asked calmly. I didn't." Zhou Li was afraid of Jiang Zhao at first, but after she found out that Jiang Zhao cared a lot about Yi Er, she started to become arrogant. She was actually a person who knew how to observe people's expressions. Just like now, Zhuang Yichen didn't even turn around to look at her. He only asked her in a calm voice. She could also feel the knife rolling under the waves, about to break through the wind and slash at her. "Oh, but I found out that the person who entered Yun Hongwei's room on the day of his death was you?" Zhuang Yichen turned around and leaned against the huge glass. His body seemed to be embedded in the sky and he looked even more powerful. What he said was pure nonsense, but he liked to hear people's uncertain answers. He used a strong and firm method to force the other party's psychological defense to collapse. Moreover, his aura was at its peak now. To him, dodging and stammering were all signs of something fishy. I really didn't." Zhou Li didn't dare to look at any of Zhuang Yichen's expressions. Even if Zhuang Yichen had a rare smile on his face, that smile was faintly discernible. It was better not to have it. At least, it wouldn't make people feel that even if he smiled a little, there was a sharp edge to it. It would make people feel that he was sinister. "Then let's go and check the surveillance footage together?" As Zhuang Yichen spoke, he stood up straight and straightened his collar. He raised his domineering chin, raised his eyebrows and smiled. Thousands of flowers bloomed. Zhou Li's legs turned to jelly. She immediately held onto the flower stand beside her. Her hands were covered in mud as she looked timidly at Zhuang Yichen. "President Zhuang, I definitely won't expose you. I won't. I promise I didn't say these words to anyone. No one will cause trouble for you." Zhuang Yichen leaned forward and smiled. His lips were extremely thin. He gritted his teeth and said, "But you still told others." Zhou Li suddenly sat on the ground. She knew that Zhuang Yichen owned Stars International, but she felt that the aura emitted from Zhuang Yichen's body was not the aura of a righteous person. It was more like the aura of a gangster wearing the guise of a righteous boss. "President Zhuang, I was wrong. I was wrong. When I went to the hospital that day, I only whispered a few words in Yun Hongwei's ear. He was in a severe coma. How could he hear me? Other than him, I didn't tell anyone else." Zhuang Yichen's eyes darkened. "Oh, then Jiang Zhao went overboard today." Zhou Li heaved a sigh of relief. "I was just anxious. Jiang Zhao didn't give me the money." Zhuang Yichen sat on the chair and said calmly, "Didn't he say that he would transfer it to you tonight? But what if he cheated me?" "Cheated you? Did you ask him how much he wanted to cheat you?" "I just want $1 million or so. I don't want to ask him for money every month." Zhou Li's voice was soft. $1 million or so. Ah. Zhuang Yichen was pleasantly surprised as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. $1 million or so. Why is your appetite so small? Plucking a strand of hair from Jiang Zhao's body would cost more than $1 million, right? What did you say? Is that rich? I'm Zhuang Yichen's friend. If I didn't have money, why would I work with him? This was the truth. Money represented a kind of power. Zhou saw that Zhuang Yichen's smile was very natural and relaxed. I see. Thank you for telling me this. I'll tell him tonight. I'll call Yi Er now and tell him that I was talking nonsense. Zhuang Yichen slowly turned his head and sighed as if it was a pity. But no one in High City knows that Jianghu and I are friends. Zhou noticed that Zhuang Yichen's way of speaking was very strange. So secretive? The man's smile became more and more sly. Of course, this is a secret that can't be told. Then why are you telling me? Zhuang Yichen shrugged. I might as well tell you more. For example, the Peerless Beauty, the biggest and most high-end gambling den in High City, is mine. You probably don't know that there are 4 other underground casinos in High City, right? Those are places where you can make a lot of money every day. 2 of them are mine. The one that Ouyang Xing sold was also swallowed by me. I now have 3 casinos and these things can't be handled by me alone. Jiang Zhao has a share in helping me and Zhou suddenly felt that the situation was very bad. She hurriedly covered her ears and sat on the ground, trembling in fear. President Zhuang, I beg you. Please don't tell me. I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to know any more. I don't want to hear any more. I didn't hear anything. Awesome novel Songshu 566. Chapter 704. But you already know so much. Zhuang Yichen leaned his elbow on the armrest of the chair. His body was slanted, and his fingers were spread open to support his forehead. He looked at the woman on the floor who was begging for mercy as if he was looking at a clown. I'm an inhumane person. I don't recognize my family, and I put my interests first regardless of whether I'm friends or not. Keeping you alive is really a scourge. Zhouli's body suddenly turned cold. Was Zhuang Yichen trying to kill her? At this moment, she regretted coming to look for Zhuang Yichen. She was sure that Zhuang Yichen wouldn't do anything to her. Who knew that she would bump into Zhuang Yichen's gun? She never knew that this person could be so ruthless when he spoke. No, Zhuang Yichen. If you keep me alive, I promise that I won't cause you any trouble. Zhuang Yichen smiled and stood up. All right. You're already so old. I believe that you still have some credibility. But let me warn you, if you report me, you'll only die faster. How can you shake my power in such a short time? Also, if there's any movement on your side, I'll be the first to know. After he finished speaking, Zhuang Yichen walked away. Zhou only woke up from her dream when she heard the ding of the elevator in the distance. Zhuang Yichen left? At this moment, she couldn't think of anything else. She got up and ran away. Zhuang Yichen returned to the car. His hands were on the steering wheel, and his lips were pursed into a cold smile. Just as Yi Er started the car, Xiaoya caught up with him. After she got into the car, she quickly pulled out the car key, held it in her hand, and locked the door. Yi Er couldn't get out of the car. He anxiously climbed to the front passenger seat and tried to snatch the key from Xiaoya's hand. Xiaoya was considered petite compared to Yi Er. She was pinned down by Yi Er and couldn't fight back at all. Chiu Xiaoya, give me back my keys. Xiaoya laughed shamelessly. Yo Yinyi, how dare you call me by my name? Don't you know that I'm older than you? Call me big sister. Yi Er was already upset, but Xiaoya made him even angrier. He had nowhere to vent his anger, so he scolded, Damn you! My sister is at the TV station. I'll call her down later. Call me big sister. Sister fart. Give me back my keys. You want to die? Do you want to die? If you want to die, I'll buy some sleeping pills for you later. I'll find 50 people to go from house to house to buy them. I'll buy enough to kill you. Xiaoya didn't know how to persuade people like ordinary people. She was as vicious as she could be. Come. You sit in the front passenger seat. I'll take you to commit suicide. Damn it, I'll take you to the top of the tallest building in Haicheng today. If I don't let you die happily, I'm not your sister. Who wants to die? You're the one who wants to die. She was really defeated by this damned woman. When did she say that she wanted to die? The women who played together all had a strong personality. Xiaoya had been in the business for a long time. She had been promoted by Zhuang Yichen long ago, so her boss attitude was even stronger. Although she couldn't beat Yi Er in a fight or snatch things from Yi Er, it didn't mean that her voice wasn't louder than Yi Er's. If Yi Er could shout, she could shout too. If you don't want to die, why are you running so fast to reincarnate? If you don't want to reincarnate, do you want to go racing and get into a car accident? Do you think it's easy for me to chase you? My high heels cost more than 30,000 a pair. Do you think it's easy for me to earn money? Using a man's money is something that I worked hard to earn. You have to pay for my shoes. Ye was immediately rendered powerless by Xiaoya's unreasonable and pestering skills. She needed to help Xiaoya. She needed to vent and her face was full of tears. What was this woman talking about? Stop talking nonsense. Scram. Scram to where? Where are you telling me to scram to? My feet are injured because of you. If I wear a pair of shoes that cost 30,000 a pair, how many pairs of shoes that cost 30,000 a pair will I have to wear in my lifetime? This is a pair of F***king expensive feet. Now that you've injured my feet, you have to pay for it. Xiaoya Jiang. Yi was sitting on Xiaoya's lap and suddenly started crying. When she cried, her shoulders shook violently. Xiaoya, Jia, bring me to bungee jumping. You can drive. Okay. Xiaoya originally wanted to fight to the death with Yi, but her heart suddenly softened. I'll drive. You can sit here. Before their car could leave the TV station, it was blocked by Jiang Zhao's car, followed by Zhuang Yichen's car. This time Zhuang Yichen got out of the car faster than Jiang Zhao. He opened the car door, bent over and said in a deep voice, "Your father's death was caused by your mother. Your mother has something to do with your father's death. You can confront her." Yi was stunned on the spot. She tilted her head and looked at Zhuang Yichen. "What did you say?" "Your mother personally admitted to me that she was there on the day of your father's death. Your father must have been overly agitated, but his body was cremated long ago. At the time, we didn't investigate in detail so we can't find anything now. But you can confront her immediately." Jiang Zhao was standing next to Zhuang Yichen so he heard everything clearly. He opened the door to the back seat and sat in it. "Xiaoya, please drive." If it was really Zhou Li, then shouldn't the barrier between him and Yi disappear? Yi took a deep breath. The tears on her face seemed to have dried up instantly. Even her voice was no longer trembling. "Xiaoya Jia, please drive. I'll tell you how to get there." So the person who killed her father was Zhou Li. This was easier for her to accept. She rejected that answer from the bottom of her heart. Because of this, she didn't dare to face it. Now that someone was willing to testify, she was willing to accept that everything had nothing to do with Jiang Zhao. And Jiang Zhao seemed to have suddenly grasped at a life-saving straw. He sat in the back seat and didn't make a sound. Inside the house, Zhou Li was confronted with the aggressive questioning of several people. She suddenly realized that she was in a very difficult situation. If she admitted to it, then she would lose Yi forever. She knew that Yi favored Yun Hongwei. If Yi didn't support her, then Jiang Zhao definitely wouldn't care about her anymore. But even if Yi ignored Jiang Zhao would still protect Yi. So even if she harmed Jiang Zhao, she couldn't lose Yi's protection. She definitely couldn't lose Yi. She definitely couldn't. Although the house was small, it was very clean. Zhou Li didn't dare to look at anyone. Because of her silence, every pair of eyes was strangling her. Yi. "Mom, the CCTV showed that you went to look for Dad. What did you say to him? You agitated Dad to death, didn't you?" Zhou Li could feel Zhuang Yichen's presence behind her. Her whole body trembled. She didn't know if it was out of guilt, fear, or a genuine desire to cry. In any case, she sat on the sofa and covered her face as she cried bitterly. "At that time, I went to tell him that Sijia has grown up. I hoped that he would wake up soon and that it would be good for the family to be together. I also told him that you miss him a lot and that I was wrong in the past. I hoped that he would get better soon." Zhou Li. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 705. Zhuang Yichen suddenly shouted. Xiaoya was shocked and quickly held his hand. "Yichen." Xiaoya was wearing the men's soft slippers that Zhuang Yichen had taken out from the car. They were not even as high as Zhuang Yichen's shoulders. She held on to Zhuang Yichen like a little bird, afraid that she would end up in a farce. Zhuang Yichen stopped in his tracks and said fiercely, "Zhou Li, how dare you lie?" This woman actually dared to lie in front of him. Even if Jiang Zhao believed Zhuang Yichen, he should have expected that Zhou Li would not admit to it. There were surveillance cameras, but surveillance cameras did not mean that there were recordings. No one knew the content, so she could have lied. The body had been cremated, so there was no evidence. Moreover, he had an undeniable responsibility. He always felt that even if there were setbacks in his political career, he would not fail. This was the worst move he had ever made in his life. It was so bad that he was unable to salvage the situation. Zhou Li knew that Jiang Zhao cared about Yi, so she brought so many people over. As long as Yi wanted to take care of her, Jiang Zhao would not ignore it. With Jiang Zhao around, she was not afraid of Zhuang Yichen. Mom, why did you lie to me like this? Why would you tell Dad all this? Yi shook her head and waved her hand. She did not want to listen anymore. She wanted to turn around and leave. She did not want to hear anything else. She would rather believe that her father was killed by her mother. That was it. She only wanted this answer. She did not want to know anything else. Yi, you have to believe Mom. Jolie suddenly pounced on Yi, who was about to turn around and leave. She hugged her and begged, Mom swears to you that if Mom lies, I will be struck by lightning and die without a complete corpse. I will not have a good ending. Yi, believe in Mommy. Your father has been good to me my whole life. I really regret it. I didn't lie. I really didn't lie. I heard with my own ears that Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen stopped the treatment to comfort you. If you don't believe me, you can ask Jiang Zhao. Think about it. If a person is doing well in the original course of treatment, but suddenly stops the same treatment, will there be other problems? Jolie's mouth was suddenly covered. Yi bit her lips. Her eyes were wide open and filled with tears. She wrapped her arms around Jolie's shoulders and covered Jolie's mouth with force, not allowing her to make a sound. Jolie's woo-woo could be heard through the gaps between her fingers. Jolie struggled, but even though Yi had lost a lot of weight, she was still very strong. She did not allow anyone to get close to her, including Jiang Zhao. Everyone could see that Yi was in pain. Xiaoya had collapsed in Zhuang Yichen's arms. Don't look. If you don't look, then you don't have to cry. She hated women who cried so easily. She hated herself even more. Zhuang Yichen did not have a good impression of Yi. This woman had repeatedly disrupted his and Jiang Zhao's plans. But at this moment, even he could feel this woman's pain. The pain that she had been hiding all this time finally exploded after the fuse was lit. It caused this woman to have a mental breakdown. Yi took a deep breath. Her light cherry-colored lips were already bleeding from her biting. When her tears came out, her voice was like a painful whimper after being forcefully torn apart. I don't want to listen to you, I don't want to listen to you. You've never told me the truth your whole life, Jolie. You've never told me the truth your whole life. I won't believe you. I won't believe you. Jolie, you lied to my father for 10 years. You lied to me for 10 years. You lied to CJ for 10 years. Tell me, why should I believe you? Why should I? Yi roared like she had lost her mind. She had been avoiding. Even though she had a premonition, even though Jiang Zhao's reaction had proven the answer, she still avoided him. She had decided that she would never meet Jiang Zhao again in this lifetime. She was also unwilling to admit that Jiang Zhao had caused her father's death. She would never. Avoiding him was a million times better than what she was experiencing now. But she was forced into a corner by this truth. All the cells in her body were exploding. She felt that she must have been badly mutilated. Otherwise, why would she be in so much pain? It had been so long. She had been separated from Jiang Zhao for so long, but she had never felt pain as clearly as she did now. After the anesthesia, the pain was unbearable for a normal person. Yi looked at Jiang Zhao blankly. Is that so? Were you the one who discussed with Zhuang Yichen to stop the treatment for my father? Wasn't they forcing her to ask? Even if she didn't want to ask, these people were forcing her to ask. Yes. Jiang Zhao was a meter away from Yi as he answered weakly. When he made that decision, he didn't think that it would be exposed. But he couldn't lie to her and say no. Yi, I'm sorry. I didn't think that there would be such a consequence. I don't blame you. You have your own difficulties. Yi shook her head. She spoke softly, closed her eyes and looked up. After a while, when the atmosphere seemed to have calmed down, Yi suddenly screamed, ah! Her tears gushed out again. Crying was the most direct way to vent, but the pain couldn't flow away with the tears. She pushed Jolie away and pushed her onto the sofa. Her body trembled violently as she opened her handbag, took out her wallet and opened it. She pulled out a red banknote and threw it to Jolie. Take it. Your favorite. I'll give it all to you. She took out the card inside and threw it at Jolie. As she threw it, she twitched and cried bitterly. Take it. I'll give it to you. This is the money we got from selling our last villa. I couldn't bear to spend a single cent. I thought I'd save it for my younger brother to pay for his education. In the future, I'll save it for his expenses when he goes abroad. Take it, take it. I have a job. I can support him. This money, I'll give it to you. Take it and squander it. She took out another banknote and threw it over expressionlessly. This money was given by the TV station. It's not a lot. Take it. I'll give it all to you. She took out another banknote and threw it over. She raised her arm to wipe the tears on her face. Take it. This is all the income from my dance studio. I didn't even have time to calculate the profits. I'll give it all to you. I'll give you all of my money. After throwing away all of her money, Yi suddenly felt that all her energy had been drained. She had nothing else to throw and nothing to do. With a thud, she knelt on the ground and raised her neck. She moved in front of Zhou and held her knees. Mom, I beg you to let me go. Jianghu was already starting to feel dizzy. He felt that the things in his eyes were swaying. He was supposed to give a shoulder to the woman kneeling on the ground, but when he took a step, he felt that he was going to fall. He raised his hand to support himself on the wall. He said to Fei Yin, I can't take it. He couldn't take it. He could take not seeing her and not getting along with her, but he couldn't take the pain of seeing her with his own eyes. Why are you so cruel? Why are you so cruel? Have you ever been nice to me? Have you ever been nice to me like Dad? What do I have to do to make you treat me better? Yi grabbed Zhouli's clothes and cried, Why did you tell me? Are you that happy to see me living in pain? Are you that happy? Mom, you're my biological mother. How can you treat me like this? How can you do this? Don't you know that I don't want to know at all? I don't want to know. Do you understand? I don't want to know. I don't have a father anymore. You're going to destroy all of my fantasies. Yi could clearly feel her own despair. Someone else had told her the truth and let Jianghu confront her. The content of the confrontation was the truth that she had never wanted to verify. The cruelest thing in the world was never lies but the truth. Zhou didn't know that Yi would lose control like this. She regretted it for a moment, but when she saw Jianghu looking at Yi with tenderness in his eyes, she stopped thinking about it. Jianghu would definitely take care of Yi in the future. Zhuang Yichen felt that his presence was a little redundant. Jianghu seemed to be holding back because of his presence, so he shouldn't continue to stay here. He bent down to pick up Xiaoya and said, Contact them after I'm done. Then he walked out the door. As soon as he walked out the door, Xiaoya tried to crawl to the ground. Zhuang Yichen said coldly, Don't you know that the soles of your feet are broken? But aren't you afraid that people will find out about our relationship? How many people in this neighborhood would know me? Do you think this is Ninth Mansion? Xiaoya was speechless. Jianghu walked over to Yi's side and helped her up. Yin. Yi lowered her head and brushed away Jianghu's hand. Then she bent down to pick up the other things that had fallen out of her bag. She wrapped up the empty money and put it in the bag. She took out a tissue from the small paper bag and used it to rub her face. Jianghu blocked her way. Yin, come home with me. Yi kept her head down and used the tissue to rub her face. Ah Zhao, she called out in a trembling voice. Jianghu was stunned. He reached out and pulled the woman into his arms. It seemed that only by hugging her in his arms could he feel more fulfilled. Ah Zhao, I don't blame you. Really? Yi sniffed. Her voice had completely gone through her nasal cavity. She said in a low, muffled voice, You had your difficulties. You must have had a hard time during those days. Yi didn't know why, but every time she said these words of understanding, her heart ached. But. Her hand rested on his chest and happened to touch his lips. She bit down hard, trying to use the pain here to cover the pain in her heart. But Ah Zhao, I can't say that Dad's sacrifice was worth it. I know that Dad deserved it. I know that you're suffering, but I can't say that Dad deserved to die. I really can't say it. I can't think that way in my heart. Do you know, it wasn't that Jianghu didn't understand Yi's despair, but there was nothing he could do. He stroked Yi's hair and said, Yunyi, I know. I know that I didn't do a good job. I made you unable to forgive me even if you wanted to. Let's go, Yi said plainly. I don't want to come here anymore. She wasn't the most upset about having such a mother. She was the most upset that he had something to do with her father's death. The most upset was that Jianghu admitted that he had something to do with it. No one was willing to lie to her. Okay. Ah Zhao, let's get a divorce. I don't want anything. You've given me too much. We can talk about anything other than divorce. We can live separately. You can go to work in peace. I'll take care of Sijia. Hey, I'm going to move my things tonight. Don't come and pick me up. I'll go by myself. Okay. Her father and husband fell into the river and neither of them knew how to swim. Who should she choose to save if she jumped into the river? Yi wanted to jump into the river herself. She swam over thinking that she could save both of them. She wouldn't give up on either of them. Because if she saved one of them, she would suffer a lifetime of pain for the other man. She wanted to be like Jianghu's answer. She wanted to carry one and hug the other. But that was the weight of two men. One of them was a father who had loved her since she was young. He spoiled her and spoiled her. As his daughter, she felt that being a child was the happiest thing in her life. She would have the most beautiful and lively childhood. Welfare Song Shu 566. Chapter 706. Her grades had been bad since she was young. When people laughed at her, her father picked her up and said, "My Yi-er is good at everything except her grades. My Yi-er's grades aren't bad either. There are many who are worse than her, so my Yi-er is better than many others." Only in front of her father would she believe what others said. Their children were the best. No matter how bad their children were, they would always shine in their parents' eyes. She could always see satisfaction in her father's eyes. Even if she wasn't good, he was still satisfied and thought she was the best. Even if there was bitterness later on, the sweetness of the past couldn't be forgotten. Who was the one who said that a daughter was her father's lover in his previous life? She had said it countless times, "Dad, I love you. I love you the most." She had hugged her father's neck countless times, saying that she loved him and asking him for the gift she wanted. Also, this man was the person she loved the most other than her father. He was tolerant and gave her everything. Being his wife was the most unforgettable and happiest thing in her life. Everything that Jianghu had given her was stuffed into her heart and couldn't be dug out. She swam over and saw her father's head slowly sinking. The surface of the water was clear. Before her father sank, she seemed to have seen her husband kick him. She realized that she was sinking too. Zhuang Yichen sent Xiaoye back to Qingfeng Garden and left. In the private room of the peerless beauty Zhaojun, Zhuang Yichen slowly raised the dice cup in his hand and shook it in the air. The dice in the cup knocked back and forth softly, but not a single one fell out. Then the knocking sounds became more and more frequent and louder. It sounded like simple steps, and the more nervous they became. His gaze was fixed on the scarred-nosed man standing in front of him. His eyes were cold and cruel. Although Zhang Ao is a fierce dog, it's good. But it's expensive and hard to find. It's too easy to find the owner. But hunting dogs are also easier to find. It's too hard to find wild dogs in the city. If you want to get them out of the city, you'll have to go through a toll station. Some things might cause unnecessary trouble. Scarface's analysis made sense. It wasn't that Zhuang Yichen hadn't thought about it before, but he never liked to leave any loose ends. "Boss, why don't we just shoot him? Anyway, my guns have been modified and the bullet shells have also been processed. They can't find out where they came from. One shot." Zhuang Yichen shook his head coldly. "It's too easy to shoot someone who dares to lie to my face. I have to let her enjoy the process of death." Thinking of Zhou Li, Zhuang Yichen regretted his sudden benevolence. Benevolence really shouldn't exist. That woman didn't know how to appreciate kindness. He originally wanted to help Jiang Zhao so that he wouldn't have to look at him all day long. But in the end he didn't help and was bitten by Zhou Li. She even broke the deadlock and made it irreparable. He and Jiang Zhao secretly stopped Yun Hongwei's treatment. It might have caused Yun Hongwei's death, but he believed that Yun Yi wouldn't report them. The reason couldn't be more simple. Thinking of her behavior in Zhou Li's house, he could guess that even if Jiang Zhao killed Yun Hongwei in front of her, she would jump off a building. She wouldn't report Jiang Zhao, so he and Jiang Zhao were wrong, but that Zhou Li couldn't be left alive for even a moment. The scarred nose trembled. The young man in front of him looked like a crowned jade, but his heart was like a demon. He never dared to betray and hide things. There was a kind of person who had this kind of aura. You had never seen him kill people, but you could see from his eyes that killing people was as simple as raising the corner of his mouth. "Boss, I know some factories in the east like to raise animals like Tibetan AO. Because it's too remote for the safety of the factory, so..." Zhuang Yichen also knew, but the factory also had to consider the safety of the employees. The dogs must be locked up in big iron cages. Then what's the use of keeping the dogs in cages? By the way, I know of a farmhouse that raises 5 wolfhounds. They're more casual in raising them. Although they're chained, the chains are very long. If they enter their territory, they can't blame the wolfhounds for being heartless. Does the farmhouse have cameras? Before doing anything, I'll get rid of these things with beard. Our hands and feet will be clean. Boss, don't worry. Well, don't leave any traces. At the shooting range in the suburbs, there were continuous gunshots. Smoke rose from the target from time to time. During this period of time, there was a woman who had been practicing shooting every day. Although she couldn't hit the bullseye, she could basically hit the target. Ouyang Yen was wearing a silencer. She raised her arm and held the gun without trembling. She was practicing shooting. For a man, she had destroyed her entire family. Ouyang. Jiang Zhao was a cold-blooded and heartless man. He never cared about old friendships. It was all because of her that her grandfather was still in prison at such an old age. Her uncle's future was also ruined. She called her brother to ask for help. Jiang Zhao was also a cold-blooded and heartless man. He actually said that when he drugged Jiang Zhao, he had warned him that Jiang Zhao would take revenge. She only had herself to blame for everything. Jiang Zhao, this man was too hateful. He had destroyed her entire family. Ouyang. She couldn't have him in this lifetime. Since she couldn't have him, then she would kill him. No one else could have him. She wanted to kill that man for her grandfather. How frightening was it for a person to go crazy with a single thought? The moon was like a plate. The night clouds were like cotton. Yi Er's car drove into 9th Mansion. She had parked her car at the entrance today. She wanted to walk over slowly. The neighborhood's greenery took up a lot of space, so it would take some time to walk over. The bodyguard followed behind her. The distance between them didn't affect her mood. She originally thought that she would think of something, but her mind was filled with dark images. She couldn't think of anything. At her level, this was probably the only thing she could do. Her sneakers felt a little sticky as she stepped on the dark asphalt road. She pulled them up and stepped on them, making a puff sound. When she reached Jiang Zhao's building, she saw a tall and lonely figure. He took a puff of smoke from time to time. Yi Er sighed softly and walked over. Jiang Zhao finally saw Yi Er appear in his line of sight. They didn't talk on the phone, but he could feel that she should have arrived at this time. So he came down from upstairs. He stood outside for less than a minute and she came. Telepathy was a very subtle thing. Ouyang Yin originally only wanted to check on Jiang Zhao's whereabouts. But when she saw Jiang Zhao suddenly throw the cigarette in his hand on the trash tray and stride toward the figure at the end of the path, the hatred that was still suppressed in her heart all rushed out. Recently, she had been intentionally or unintentionally sending people to follow Jiang Zhao. The best place to start was 9th Mansion. In the past, he liked to take a walk with Yunyi in the morning. He would also go out for a walk at night. There were too many people at work. Her marksmanship wasn't that accurate. If she wanted to kill this vicious man, she had to take advantage of when there were fewer people. Kill Jiang Zhao. She was more determined than to kill Yunyi. Yunyi, over here. Jiang Zhao saw Yi Er quicken her pace and couldn't help but wave at her happily. At this moment, he was like a man waiting at home for his wife to come home. He was a little anxious. This scene was like an illusion. Yi Er couldn't help but laugh, but she laughed so hard that her nose started to ache. It was a natural hug. Yunyi, don't go, okay? We'll live here. You live upstairs and I'll live downstairs. Zhao, let me be alone for a while. Okay. You can be alone for a while. I won't disturb you and I won't call you, but... Jiang Zhao hesitated for a moment. But Yunyi, we're not divorced. You can't. You're still my wife, okay? Yi Er was very tall. At this moment she was being hugged by Jiang Zhao. She stood on her tiptoes, and her chin was hanging on Jiang Zhao's shoulder. A figure suddenly stood up from the hill like flowers. Under the night light, the muzzle of the gun was pointed directly at Jiang Zhao's back. There was no time to shout. The gun seemed to have been loaded a long time ago, and it stood up only to shoot. Yi Er's pupils dilated. Instinctively she didn't have time to think. As soon as the word danger left her mouth, she hugged Jiang Zhao tightly and fell to the left to avoid the muzzle of the gun. As she spun, she had already exchanged positions with Jiang Zhao. In the process of falling to the ground, she successfully dodged the first bullet. Ouyang Yin didn't care if the first shot missed or not. She kept shooting. She was determined to kill Jiang Zhao. After practicing with a gun for so long, she had long treated Jiang Zhao as a target. She knew that her marksmanship was not good, so she thought that she had to shoot continuously. Therefore, when Yi Er hugged Jiang Zhao and dodged the first shot, the second bullet almost followed. She didn't expect it. The pain on her back finally suppressed the pain in her heart. When Jiang Zhao heard the gunshot and the word danger, he had already been turned around by Yi Er. This time it only took 2 to 3 seconds. Jiang Zhao's heart trembled. He threw the phone in his hand at Ouyang Yan's hand. It hit and the muzzle of the gun was crooked. Taking advantage of this time, he flipped over and jumped up. He raised his leg and kicked Ouyang Yan's gun to the ground. In just a short 10 seconds the bodyguard rushed over, but it was already too late. He could only restrain Ouyang Yan. I told you to protect her safety. Why are you so far away from her? Jiang Zhao's eyes were red and his eyes were about to crack. I saw you guys, so I didn't want to disturb you. I thought that if you were here it would be fine. The bodyguard's explanation made Jiang Zhao's legs suddenly go weak. "You was here? Call an ambulance. Hurry." Jiang Zhao sat on the ground. He didn't dare to move Yi Er at all. He knew that he couldn't move. He only held her hand. "Yin Yi, I'm here, I'm here." Ouyang Yin was still shouting something, but he didn't hear it clearly. He just didn't dare to move Yi Er. He sat on the ground and said to the bodyguard, "Let her go." "Let her go?" The bodyguard was stunned. "She should be handed over to the police." Jiang Zhao said fiercely, "Let her go. I said let her go. Why aren't you getting lost?" Jiang Zhao said fiercely to Ouyang Yin, who had already been released by the bodyguard. The wait for the ambulance was long. Jiang Zhao asked the bodyguard to bring his phone over. He only sent a few simple words. "I want Ouyang Yin to die. Die without a complete corpse." When Zhuang Yiqin received Jiang Zhao's message, he held his forehead. What kind of provocation did young Master Jiang suffer? He actually dared to tell him to kill someone in public? The bag of blood plasma was hung on the forestand. It flowed along the tube, through the needle hole, and into the woman's slender blood vessels. The color was so red that it was a little dark. It was red like hope and black like despair. Jiang Zhao lay on the ground of the ambulance. He held the woman's hanging hand in his palm and placed it over his heart. Beauty novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 707. Yi Er's lips were a little green and dry. The gunshot wound was on her back. She was lying on the bed with her head propped up on the side of the bed. Her hand was still nestled in his chest. She looked at him lying on the ground, looking at her, watching the tears in his eyes flow out. Her back was still wet. Other than the pain, she could also feel something wet flowing on her skin. Her hand was held in the man's hand. She saw that he was afraid, so afraid that his lips were trembling. Yi was also afraid. She felt that her strength was almost gone. If it weren't for the man holding her hand, she would feel that her entire body was about to turn cold. She couldn't feel any warmth at all. In the past, when she placed her hand in his palm, she could feel the dry warmth. It was so reassuring. But now it was all gone. It was disappearing bit by bit. Her senses were disappearing. She could not feel any warmth. "Jiang Zhao, Yin Yi, don't talk. Let's not talk. We have blood. We have blood. Let's go to the hospital first. We'll talk when we get there. Just look at me. Don't sleep." The doctor said that the bullet was near the heart. It might have hit the heart. They had to go to the hospital to be sure. He felt that every word she said now was exhausting her energy. She did not need to speak. She just needed to keep her eyes open. "Jiang Zhao." Yi Er did not like herself like this. Her voice was so weak that she could not even hear herself clearly. She wanted to say a whole sentence, but she could not even form a sentence. Some of her consciousness was no longer listening to her. She saw her father. Her father's embrace was actually very warm. He was calling for her, but she saw the man lying on the ground. He was so helpless. He held her hand as if he was holding on to a life-saving straw. He was like a person who was about to drown. He was so pitiful. It turned out that love could really make people give up their lives at a critical moment. Actually, other than this, she had not given him anything. But even this would become a burden for his life. It turned out that even if she did something for him, it would become a burden for her. Actually, she never wanted to be a burden. "Jiang Zhao, actually Yun Yi, if we don't talk, you're afraid that there won't be any sound. I'll tell you. Don't talk. I'll tell you a joke." Yi Er shook her head gently. She gathered all her strength in her throat, wanting to finish what she wanted to say. "Jiang Zhao, I never loved you. I did it all for my father. From the beginning I've been using you. I've been using you. Now my father is dead. You are no longer of any value to me. Finally, I don't have to see you anymore. I never loved you at all. In order to get you to help my father, I had to go against my will to please you. You wanted my love, so I told you that I loved you. Whatever you wanted, I would give it to you. That was all because of my father. Now that my father is gone, I don't have to lie anymore. Sai, I don't have to face you anymore. I don't have to put up with you anymore. You divorce me and let me find a man I love. Seeing that I've served you for so long." The woman's lips were a little pale. The unique siren of the ambulance sounded on the asphalt road, reminding the cars on the road to give way. There was a dying patient in the ambulance. The roads in the city were busy even at 9 o'clock at night. Jiang Zhao, I never loved you. I never, ever loved you. It was all because of my father. I lied to you, because my father is my everything. From the beginning he was. Before she fell into darkness, she could slowly stop feeling pain. Jiang Zhao listened and took in everything. He held Yi Er's hand even tighter. He nodded and went along with her words. Those words couldn't hurt him at all. Well, since that's the case, shouldn't you make it up to me? You used me for your father. Don't you feel sorry for me? You feel like you owe me, don't you? Since that's the case, you have to pay me back. Sigh. Yi Er didn't even have the strength to shake her head. Sigh. He placed her cold hand on his chest to warm it up. He lay on the ground. The woman's tears fell drop by drop onto his chin. Do you think you don't owe me anything other than this? You've made me so picky. Do you think you can just let it go like this? Do you think that I, Jiang Zhao, am an easy person to get along with? I won't let it go just like this. You didn't find me a wife who can cook as well. Why should I let you find someone you love? I'm not that kind of person. I'm not. Yi Er was sent to the military hospital. The doctor who operated on her was an experienced and outstanding doctor. Bullets, shrapnel, and blades. Those injuries that were considered rare in other hospitals were normal here. But the bullet had brushed past her heart. The danger of removing the bullet made it impossible for her to be at ease. Ouyang Yen left Ninth Mansion. She could still be considered calm. It had something to do with her temperament. Just like this time when she was determined to kill Jiang Zhao, she didn't rush up and stab Jiang Zhao twice. Instead, she checked the time and place to find the best opportunity to strike. To her, today was a pity. Jiang Zhao wasn't dead. Only Yunyi was dead. A woman like Yunyi wasn't a threat to the family Ouyang. Jiang Zhao was the real scourge. She hated him as much as she loved him in the past. Zhuang Yichen looked at Jiang Zhao's message and called Jiang Zhao. What's the situation? Yunyi was shot. He heard Jiang Zhao's sobbing voice and the sound of an ambulance. Needless to say, he had already guessed it. Jiang Zhao was like him. He never liked to leave any loose ends behind. He also didn't like to let others have a hold on him. He only hinted at the people he needed to deal with. He would never say it out loud. Ouyang Yen was the first person Jiang Zhao asked for her life. She died without a complete corpse. What kind of hatred was this? Zhuang Yichen looked at his hands. He raised them and faced the dim lights in the private room. His hands looked clean, but they were stained with blood. He didn't hate the blood that stained his hands. There was nothing in this world that was spotless. He didn't like things that were spotless. He liked things that had sharp edges and corners. What was the point of being pure or not? People were only human when they had deep-rooted bad habits. Just like Qiu Xiaoya. She had bad habits, but she also had a true temperament. Only such a woman was interesting. He clenched his hands and dialed a number on his phone. Scar, find some people with beard. We'll have some fun tonight. Family Ouyang's miss, who hasn't been sent to prison. She's a famous beauty in High City. Hey, is that enough? Hee boss, one is too little. How can it be too little? Play like you don't care about your life. If she can still move, don't move. It's a difficult task. Zhuang Yichen couldn't think of a way to help Jiang Zhao vent his anger. Therefore, people couldn't live too righteously. Jiang Zhao had come to this point because he cared too much about affection. Wouldn't it have been better if he had killed Zhou Li earlier? Wouldn't it have been better if he had killed Ouyang Yen earlier? Sure enough, there was a big difference between those who walked the righteous path and those who walked the unorthodox path. Zhuang Yichen concluded again that he was more suitable to walk the unorthodox path. Those who walked the righteous path were too shameless. Kill people again? Today's task seemed a little heavy, but the boss had instructed them to complete it. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to move. How scary would that be? Okay, we'll definitely complete the task. Forget it. Throw a bunch of beggars at her. I think it's too easy for her to let you guys do her. Change of mind. Do as I say. Okay. Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone and thought about the day's matters one by one. He called Xiaoya again. Is your foot better? Yes, Uncle Li brought me the doctor from your side. I applied some medicine, but I don't feel much. Rest well and don't go out at night. Call me if there's anything. If I'm busy, call Uncle Li. Don't go to nightclubs. Those places are not safe at all times. Okay, I got it. Good night. Good night. Zhuang Yichen's words were always cold. He never used a gentle tone. When he cared about someone, it was a little stiff. However, Xiaoya still felt some subtle changes. As the night deepened, the rhythm of the show became more and more thrilling. No one knew who they heard, but the beggars under the overpass quietly moved in groups of 3 to 5 like thieves. There was even a hint of joy on their faces. An old construction site was already covered with weeds. The developers were waiting for the property prices to rise before they started to dig the foundation. A wall was built here and bricks and stones were scattered everywhere. When the cloth on Ouyang Yan's face was pulled off, she was so scared that she cried out woo woo. Her mouth was gagged and she shrank in the corner. The person who pulled off the cloth on her face was wearing a big brimmed hat and a pair of oversized sunglasses. He wore sunglasses in the middle of the night because he did not want anyone to recognize him. The night was so dark and that person's face could not be seen at all. She only knew that it was a man. The reason she screamed was not because of the man, but because of the circle of beggars surrounding her. Their eyes were green, their clothes were ragged, their bodies were dirty, and their hair was long and dirty. Some of their hair was even tied together in knots, and their whole body was emitting a foul smell. The beggars chosen by Scar today were the dirtiest and ugliest. He did not want those with short hair who paid attention to their appearance and wanted money. Today's matter must be done to the satisfaction of the boss. He took out the video camera and pointed it at Ouyang Yan. The beggars were all low-level beggars who did not belong to any organization. Jianghu 799. Chapter 708. These beggars were all men. They were gluttonous and lazy, or they begged for a living. If they really got money to satisfy their physiological needs, they could only go to the women who stood on the street for 10 or 20 yuan. When had they ever seen a miss from a rich family like Ouyang Yan? All of them rushed to pounce on Ouyang Yan as if they had taken stimulants. She didn't want to live anymore. She didn't want to live anymore. Was it Jiang Zhao? Was it someone sent by Jiang Zhao? This man. She wouldn't let him off even if she became a ghost. Jiang Zhao leaned in Qin Jin's arms and wrapped his arms around her waist. He buried his head in her chest and cried silently. What time is it? He didn't dare to look at the time. He would rather interpret his feelings as a day passing like a year. He was willing to do so. Even if a day had passed, only a minute had passed. Qin Jin hugged Jiang Zhao's head with both arms and nestled in her arms. Zhao Zhao, sleep for a while. The surgery will be over soon. Sister Jin will be watching. Sleep for a while. Sister Jin, you're not allowed to say that Yunyi is bad in the future. You can't even think that in your heart. Okay, Sister Jin swears to you that I won't say anything bad about Yi Er in the future. I won't even think that in my heart. Sister Jin swears to you. Sister Jin, I feel terrible. At this time, perhaps he could only stay in his mother's arms to calm down. Jiang Zhao was already 30 years old. It had been a long time since he relied on his mother's arms like this. As a man, he always felt that he had the role of protecting his mother after he became an adult. However, at this time he became a child again. He leaned into his mother's arms and wanted to seek a moment of peace. Sister Jin knows. Zhao Zhao, Sister Jin knows. Sister Jin, Yunyi is quite selfish. She's a very shrewd woman. It's normal that you don't like her. Which mother-in-law can stand her daughter-in-law being so shrewd? Jiang Zhao sighed and refused to raise his head. On the chair in the corridor, the mother and son were nestled together. Jiang Zhao was tall and big, so he sat further away from Qin Jin. Then he leaned towards her and lay in her arms, afraid that his face would be exposed to the light outside. He hid inside and cried. Qin Jin listened to Jiang Zhao and tried her best not to interrupt him. It's not good for girls to be dull. It's better to be smart. Jiang Zhao took a deep breath. His muffled voice was filled with unwillingness. But Sister Jin, no matter how smart she is, how can she be smarter than me? She has never won against me. She loses to me every time. When she wants to scheme against me, I can guess it. So, I regret not letting her have her way. She must not have a sense of accomplishment. When she wakes up, I'll let her scheme against me. I'll let her win a few times and have some fun. After all, she's still young. Qin Jin only nodded. Yeah, you're a man. It's only right for you to let her win. Jiang Liqing sat opposite them and watched his ex-wife hugging his son. His son was crying in his ex-wife's arms, and his ex-wife was crying in her arms. As for him, Jiang Liqing stood up and walked in front of Qin Jin. Then he sat down beside Qin Jin and stretched out his arms, hugging his son and ex-wife in his arms. Qin Jin trembled. She turned her head and looked at Jiang Liqing blankly. He pressed his forehead against hers and said softly, I should have let you have your way. I should have. Qin Jin's heart trembled. She hurriedly lowered her head and pressed her face against Jiang Zhao's head. She hugged Jiang Zhao even tighter. The surgery was long and endless. When Jiang Zhao closed his eyes, the bag of blood swayed in front of him. Qin Fian raised his wrist and looked at his watch. Time really passed quickly. Everyone's time passed quickly, whether it was in the operating room or his. The surgeon was the best surgeon in the military hospital. Jiang Liqing's arm was still long enough to hold Qin Zhen, so he patted Jiang Zhao's back in Qin Zhen's arms. Zhao Zhao, these doctors are very good. You have to trust your father. Okay, Jiang Zhao replied faintly. He remembered Yi Er's last words clearly. Now that he recalled the way she said those words, he found it funny. This woman was only 20 years old, but she actually played such a trick on him. In the past, when he did not know whether he loved or hated her, he would overthink and be jealous. But later on he was able to see through all the messy thoughts she had while hiding in the West and Zong. She would never be able to outsmart him. She had always been the loser in front of him. That sentence, whoever falls in love first will lose, who could remember when it was said? Who could really tell who had lost? There were clearly people who were unwilling to admit defeat. There were clearly people who had lost at the starting line from the beginning, but they never dared to admit it. Was the word lose so scary? Actually, what did it matter if she lost? What he won was her entire being and heart. What he lost was just a tiny loss. She said she did not love him, so she did not love him? If she did not love him, why would she protect him when her father whipped him? Even if he betrayed her at that time. If she really did not consider him, she would have long made a fuss about making Yun Hongwei innocent. She did not care how many people she offended. Her goal from the beginning was to help Yun Hongwei clear his name and get out of prison completely. However, her path became more and more deviant. Her demands became lower and lower. In fact, she had always chosen him and let Yun Hongwei suffer. As long as he did not go to prison, she did not care about anything else and did not make any demands. She did not realize that she had already made it a habit to let Yun Hongwei suffer but not make things difficult for him. But she said that she had always chosen her father. She said she did not love him and she did not love him? She did not love him and even took a bullet for him? Did she think that was a stone? Did she think that he was as stupid as she was? You would not believe her nonsense. This woman was cunning and could only be considered a little fox. In front of him he always knew where her tail was. She clearly said that she did not love him, but the tears that flowed out were all extremely bitter. The faint light in her eyes was filled with reluctance and reluctance. Even the gaze that she looked at him in the end was filled with heartache. She felt heartache for him but said that she did not love him. How could he not know what she was thinking? When she woke up he would teach her how to scheme. In the past he had always thought that she was a woman with good acting skills. Only now did he feel that she was the one with the worst acting skills. Zhao Zhao, don't cry. Don't worry. Qin Zhen was not afraid of the wet feeling, but her son had never cried silently in her arms like this. There was no sound at all, but the clothes in front of her chest were all soaked. Jiang Zhao replied with a faint, Actually, her injuries aren't that serious. Jiang Zhao thought that his words could completely convince himself. Even if he forced himself, he could completely make himself believe that he had the ability to make himself believe in himself. Jiang Zhao could not help but admit that he was a little obsessed. When he was convincing himself, he closed his eyes tightly and buried himself in his mother's arms. He felt the darkness. In the darkness he searched for the light that he wanted. In the light, there was the smile of his beloved woman. Those fake stubbornness, those fake flattery, he did not want to think about those disputes and conflicts. He only remembered that under the fiery red maple leaves, her confident gaze, she said that she wanted to marry him. If she hadn't taken that step, where would those noisy and peaceful days come from? If there was one thing that she had really schemed against him, it was probably only this matter. She had schemed and won. However, she had the advantage of being able to scheme and win. That was the advantage that he had long admired her. He closed his eyes and tried hard to recall her eyes, her smile, her voice, and the content of her words. However, the image was shaky like a scratched disc on a screen. Then there was the sound of gunshots. She hugged him, dodged, and turned over. No wonder she dared to propose to him. She was so fearless. She was not afraid that he would tear her apart. Because she had always been braver than him. In front of him was a sea of blood, and then there was an endless black. She lay beside him. He only dared to kneel beside her and did not dare to move her. He could only watch as her body trembled in the cold wind. He watched as the thick and pungent smell of her saliva came out of her body. The mucus was like a flood roaring out of her body. There was more and more of it. He wanted to chase it away for her, but he could not resist at all. He only dared to caress her face. He didn't even dare to lift her head. He could only watch as the dark red liquid of life overflowed from her back under the night light, soaking the bricks on the ground. There was so much blood that it was as if a river had suddenly appeared in front of him. He didn't want to think about those scenes that had shattered his self-confidence, but he couldn't help it. She thought about the way he looked at her while lying on the ground. Her eyes almost lost their light, just like a candle that was about to burn out. He held her hand like he was holding a flame, afraid that a sudden gust of wind would extinguish it. Jianghu hugged Qinzhen's waist tighter. Actually, it's not serious. He gritted his teeth and repeated. In the early morning, the cars slowly moved out. It was clearly not the morning rush hour, but the busy road was jammed with traffic. The sound of horns was deafening. Many people wanted to get out of the car to see what was going on. They originally wanted to argue, but when they saw the naked woman in the middle of the road, they all took out their phones and started to take photos and post them on Weibo. The Ouyang Yen did not dare to raise her head. Her face was buried in her black hair. She was naked and covered in blood. It was even worse between her legs. Her body was covered in bruises. The unbearable humiliation burned her like hot iron. There were also some clear high-definition photos around her. But the men's faces were basically pixelated. The clothes on the ground were also pixelated. Yo, look at the photos beside her. They are so clear. God, it's so disgusting. It's all these disgusting people who are messing with her. Her hair is so disgusting and dirty. Damn it for P. Isn't this too heavy? It's even heavier than the old teachers. Wow, the woman in this photo has good skin and a good figure. How did she end up so miserable? What a pity. Yo, I see. Isn't this Ouyang Sheng's granddaughter, Ouyang Yen? It's an inspector. God. Inspector? It's over. I've already posted it on Weibo. Will the relevant departments come to find me? It's over. It's over. Ouyang Yan's last bit of consciousness, her last bit of strength, all poured into her instinctive trembling. These bastards. The glorious past was endless, but now the ending was miserable. She did not dare to raise her head because she was naked. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 709. But she used to be the precious mist that everyone worshipped. Since when did she stop being like that? Jianghu had a change of heart. Until now she still couldn't get over it. She couldn't understand. Yunye's looks were only above average. She was a little taller and had a good figure. Everything else was useless. Men were all cheap. They liked to throw themselves at others. They didn't want a compatible family background, but they chose a burden to show off their ability. At the end of the day, Jianghu was a cheap man. Ouyang Yan's broken nervous system was on the verge of breaking down. Hey, anger. Jianghu had destroyed the last bit of her dignity. That man still couldn't figure out what the hell had transformed into. He was actually so sure that the child in her stomach wasn't his. What the hell had transformed into him? Originally, she had only wanted to test him, but he had been so ruthless. At this time, Ouyang Yan already thought that she was a broken pot. So, the more she thought about it, the more hideous her smile became. She slowly raised her head and looked at the phones and cameras. Her smile had a hint of insanity. She wanted to say, Jianghu is my man, Jianghu is my man. She wanted to destroy Jianghu, this bastard. But she realized that the sounds were all unpleasant. Her voice. His mind, which was already in chaos, seemed to have received another heavy blow. The fragments in his brain overlapped. That's right. Last night that bastard cut off her tongue. At that time she was in so much pain that she almost died. But now it didn't hurt anymore. Was it really like what they said? Did they apply a lot of anesthetic on her? Her whole body trembled like a sieve. She sat on the ground and looked at the electronic products, screaming, ah! Those bastards. Humiliating people. Who else could it be other than Jianghu? Jianghu. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Hearing the sound of the police car in the distance approaching, Ouyang Yen suddenly jumped up and crazily rushed through the crowd. Her clothes were damaged and dirty. The crowd couldn't avoid her in time. The Ouyang Yen rushed to the road. A naked woman was walking on the road, sighing. Ouyang Yen knew that someone had called the police. She would not go to that kind of place. Grandpa was in that kind of place. She would not go. She would not go. If Grandpa knew about what happened last night, he would definitely be angered to death. He rushed towards the speeding police car with its siren blaring. The speed of the police car wasn't slow to begin with, and with the siren on, the other cars moved out of the way. The road was even wider, and the speed at which they rushed to the crime scene was even faster. Bang! A body abruptly slammed into the car and bounced 20 meters away. His originally broken body became even more mangled after crashing to the ground from the air. His eyes were looking in one direction, and there was a look of fear and unwillingness on his face. Even when he stopped twitching at the last moment, the unwillingness in his heart still didn't disappear. The scattered photos of beggars raping a woman were confiscated, and the police filed a case for investigation. Meanwhile, in Xiao Xiaoye's duplex apartment in Qingfeng Garden, Zhuang Yichen was on the phone in the living room. However, when the other party finished reporting, he frowned in dissatisfaction. She died just like that? Wasn't it too fast? She should have endured for another 2 days before dying. It seemed that he had overestimated her endurance. Boss, the police are investigating now. Did you leave any clues behind? No. Don't worry about that. Then let them investigate. Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone and looked at the clock on the wall. Actually, he should have gone to the hospital, but his relationship with Jiang Zhao wasn't that public yet. How could he visit Jiang Zhao's wife before they found out that she was injured? He wondered how Jiang Zhao was doing now. Actually, he wasn't this worried when Jiang Zhao was being investigated last time. However, when he called Jiang Zhao yesterday and heard the uncontrollable sobbing, he guessed that Jiang Zhao was probably on the verge of collapse. Zhuang Yichen returned to the bedroom. An inexplicable fear crept into his heart. He didn't like this kind of emotion. It only appeared in his dreams in the middle of the night. Where did it come from in broad daylight? Looking at the woman sleeping like a corpse on the bed, he couldn't fall asleep. He lifted the blanket and crawled under it. He hugged Xiaoye's waist and nuzzled her neck. Xiaoye. Yes. Your shop has reopened. Why aren't you as active as before? Xiaoye ignored him and continued sleeping. I like to sleep in. I used to be like this. I work at night as a designer. Don't you know? But you've been like this recently. Speaking of which, Wei had been reopened for so long, but she didn't seem to care at all. In the past, it was as if she had been injected with chicken blood for the sake of Wei. Xiaoye's eyes were still closed. She muttered impatiently, Why should I work so hard? If you want me to make money, you can move your finger and I'll be full of money. If you want me to die, you can move your finger and I'll be back to square one night. I'll be exhausted to death. Zhuang Yichen was slightly stunned. He heard the woman's even breathing. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to speak to him with such an attitude. However, she was smart. Just because she didn't think of it in the beginning didn't mean that she wouldn't think of it later. It seemed that she had already guessed that her debt and the closure of the shop were manipulated by him. Although she didn't point it out, her attitude was clearly protesting against him in a negative way. Then, are you going to stay at home every day? Don't you find it annoying? He always felt that women should find something to do. Otherwise, they would lose some of their brilliance. When she asked him to help her with her career, he really felt like his eyes had lit up. After all, she was only 21 years old at that time. How could a girl at that age have any ambition for her career? Now she was living in reverse. It's better if you get tired of me as soon as possible. Xiaoye just closed her eyes and answered casually and heartlessly. Zhuang Yichen's face darkened. Little demon Xiao. Get the F***ck up. The position of the sun continued to follow the trajectory of yesterday. It went from east to west, from dark to bright, and from bright to dark. However, the trajectory of a person was always different from yesterday. There was always a deviation. Yesterday he looked clean and tidy, but today he was unshaven. Yesterday he still had some hope. Today, as he looked at the door of the operating room, the thing in his heart that was as firm as a century-old tower began to shake with the movement of the earth's crust. Pieces of bricks and stones fell from the top of the tower. It was terrifying. Because he was afraid that the foundation of the tower would be overturned. Jiang Zhao held such feelings in his heart as he stared at the door of the operating room without blinking. He even suggested changing the chief surgeon. He was worried that the doctor would be tired. Most people wouldn't be able to withstand such a long operation, right? What if he wasn't careful? Bah. Jiang Zhao spat at his own thoughts in his heart. Jiang Zhao calmly considered the details. He even took the opportunity to. When there was a break in the operation, he went home and brought Yi Er's underwear, slippers, towel, iPad, and computer to the hospital. He said that the operation would be over by the time he came back from home. Before the operation was over, he shuttled back and forth between the operating room and the ward. Later, he would go back to the ward to check if the pillow was placed properly and if the blanket was lifted. If she came out, she couldn't put the blanket under her body. He even went back to the bedroom at home to take down the curtains and brought them to the hospital to hang them up. He felt that Yi Er would sleep better in a room with such curtains. After all, she was the one who chose those things, so it must be something she liked. He didn't let anyone help him. He actually hadn't done these things before, but when he did it, he was serious and immersed in it as if he had practiced it countless times. Qin Fian watched Jiang Zhao busy himself and didn't sleep the whole night. He followed behind Jiang Zhao and couldn't help at all. He was anxious and sad. The last time Yi Er was kidnapped, the operation didn't take so long. Jiang Zhao also didn't look for trouble like this. Qin Jin had already fallen asleep in the waiting room. She was really old and couldn't take it anymore. Jiang Zhao had just hung up the curtains when he started looking for a thermos to wash. Qin Fian grabbed Jiang Zhao's hand that was holding the thermos. His eyes reddened. "Brother, don't wash it. You've already done it 3 times. Jiang Zhao was stunned. It was as if the strength in his hand was suddenly pulled away. With a ping sound, it fell to the ground, and the bladder inside was shaken to a ping sound. Jiang Zhao was jolted back to reality by the sound. He rubbed his forehead anxiously and was about to raise his wrist to look at his watch when he suddenly used his other hand to cover his face. He shook his head and saw the broken pieces on the ground. He had a sudden realization. He clasped his hands together and became more alert. "The thermos is broken. I'll go to the supermarket to buy a new one." After saying that, he brushed past Qin Fian and left in a hurry. It was as if he was going to complete a very important and urgent task. Qin Fian's shoulders drooped. At this moment, he didn't dare to imagine what would happen if the person in the operating theater really died. Bah! Qin Fian raised his hand and hit his chin. Jiang Zhao had just left the building when Zhuang Yichen called. After a long time, he said hoarsely, "Hello." When Zhuang Yichen heard Jiang Zhao's voice, he couldn't help but pinch his eyebrows. "Brother Zhao, the matter has been settled. Ouyang Yin went crazy this morning and crashed her car to commit suicide. I just asked someone to send the news to Ouyang Sheng." When that old man heard the news, he suddenly had a cerebral hemorrhage. The resuscitation couldn't be done. Jiang Zhao raised his head and looked at the sun above his head. The sun was shining like a high-wattage light bulb. It was so bright that he couldn't open his eyes. The sunflower started to grow round spots and became blurry. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. He made a difficult goo-goo sound and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "That's it." Zhuang Yichen was shocked. "Brother Zhao, you found the ideal solution in the shortest time possible. I think it's better than disfiguring her and tearing her tendons." "That's true." Zhuang Yichen could hear the tiredness and hatred in Jiang Zhao's voice. There was also a momentary sense of powerlessness. He couldn't bring himself to say the words of a deal in the past. "I did this for you for free. You don't have to pay me back." Jiang Zhao interrupted him. "No, you must pay me back. I'll pay you back when she's out of danger." Zhuang Yichen could only say, "Okay. When Mrs. Jiang wakes up, I'll pay you back. When Mrs. Jiang wakes up, I'll definitely ask you for some benefits." "It's a promise." Looking at the sun above his head, he finally couldn't stand the light and closed his eyes. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, hung up the phone and strode out of the hospital. "Yunyi, your husband doesn't like to owe people favors. When you wake up, I'll pay you back. You have to work harder and let your husband pay off all the debts as soon as possible. It's uncomfortable to owe people a debt. You don't want me to feel uncomfortable, right?" Add Xingwu 799. Chapter 710. Jiang Zhao gave himself some hope as he walked. There is a supermarket beside the military hospital, and it is only 5 to 6 minutes away from the hospital. Jiang Zhao was conflicted. When he was in the hospital, he wanted to leave. But after he left, he was worried that his wife had come out of the operating theater. So, he rushed to the supermarket and bought a thermos bottle. He ran to the cashier and queued up. When he saw the long queue, he took out his wallet and gave 100 renminbi to each person to cut the queue. He humbly told the cashier that his wife was still in the hospital and needed a thermos bottle. Fortunately, no one recognized this bearded, tall and melancholy handsome young mayor of this city. Many people saw his red eyes after crying and could not help but feel pity for him. They refused to accept his money and let him pay the bill first. Jiang Zhao smiled bitterly. He did not expect people to pity him. Does he look like a pitiful person now? All of a sudden his phone rang. When Jiang Zhao ran back to the hospital, Yi Er had moved to the bed. He regretted that he did not rush to the hospital earlier. Qin Fian advised him, very good, there's no danger. The corners of his mouth wanted to pull out a smile, but they kept twitching unnaturally. He thought he would only smile. But when he heard the doctor confidently say, the operation was a success, he hugged the chief surgeon and cried. Thank you. Thank you. He did not know what else to say except to repeat. After the nurse hung up all the 4 bags, Jianghu chased everyone out of the ward. He said he wants to rest for a while. One of them pushed the bedding to the side of the bed and put it together. Then he climbed onto the bed and slept closer to you. He grabbed the hand without the 4 drip with satisfaction and rubbed it in his palm as if he could not get enough of it. He exhaled, Aya, Aya. These sighs were filled with uncontrollable joy. Yunyi, you are so hardworking. Zhuang Yichen, that bastard's favor is finally repaid, right? I knew you were a good girl. That guy is a blood-sucking bug. If I don't return it to him this time, who knows how he will suck my blood dry in the future. I won't give him such a chance. I'm sure you won't be willing either, right? Aya, I want to eat my wife's cooking. I've lost weight. He moved his mouth to Yier's ear and took a sip. His handsome brows arched in satisfaction. Let's not talk about it anymore. It'll definitely disturb you. Let's go to sleep. I'm so tired. It was already May and the weather was starting to get hot. Jolie curled up beside the shoe cabinet. She felt uncomfortable all over. She was so uncomfortable that she wanted to scratch herself. She had already locked herself in her room for 2 days. She really wanted to control herself. However, her body was a little cold. She didn't know if it was because of the cold, but she felt that her snot was flowing out uncontrollably. She liked to keep her nails long and shape them into charming shapes. With bright nail polish, her hands looked even fairer. Her skin was very good and she had spent a lot of money on maintaining it. Even though she was already 40 years old, her face still looked like a young woman who was not even 30 years old. She loved this face and this skin more than anything else. However, she was now sallow and emaciated. She didn't want to eat or drink. She didn't know what she wanted to do. She got up from the ground and crawled to the bathroom. She wondered if she would feel better after taking a shower. However, when she saw her reflection in the dressing mirror on the wall, Jolie was so scared that she screamed as if she had seen a ghost. Ah. 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 It's not me, it's not me. Zhou Yin didn't feel so scared the last time. However, there was someone in the mirror now. Did she come out of the mental hospital? Why was her hair so messy? Why were her eyes so deep and lifeless? Why were her clothes so dirty? What was even scarier was that her neck, the back of her hands, and the places that were not covered by her clothes were covered with blood-red scratches. She couldn't see her original appearance clearly. She hugged her own face. Fortunately, she had resisted the urge to hurt her favorite face. Fortunately, she didn't hurt it. She squatted down again. It was so itchy. It was as uncomfortable as being bitten by poisonous insects. She only remembered being locked in a place where she couldn't see the light and being given an injection. After a day, she was given another injection. After that, the duration became shorter and shorter. Whenever she felt uncomfortable, she would be given an injection. Now that she was thrown back home, she felt like she was going to die. If she couldn't find that thing, she would really die. The voice of the person who gave her the injection was cold. The next time you come to ask for this thing, you will definitely feel free. If you look for your son-in-law, he will be able to tell at a glance that you are addicted to drugs. He will definitely send you to prison to get sober. The next time you want it, you can look for me. The sun set and rose again. What was the date, day and time? She couldn't tell. She only remembered that she had been given an injection. It had been a long time since she had an injection. What should she do? What should she do? Jolie had quickly lost weight in the shortest amount of time. She was haggard. She packed up hastily and walked out with her head lowered. She stumbled and found the alley. The roof was like a black shed. It was a dirty and messy place. The top of the alley was sealed, waiting for the people who had been giving her injections for the past few days. Don't look for me. I have no stock here. How can that be? Big brother, how can there be no stock? Yes, there's no stock. Go buy it on the black market. Be careful. Don't be targeted by the police. They will send you to prison. The boss said that Jolie was a brainless person. Sometimes it was better to scare her. It was true. She was addicted and didn't quit. She was afraid of being caught by the police. However, her face was still very beautiful. Just looking at it made people want to press her against the wall and *CK her. However, the boss said that he could do it with Ouyang Yen but not with this woman. Otherwise, he would humiliate someone he couldn't afford to offend. He couldn't torture her in such a way. Therefore, even if he felt that this woman was so beautiful that he wanted to commit a crime, he thought about it and let it go. If the boss said that he couldn't do it, then he couldn't do it. Jolie was so scared that she nodded repeatedly. She shrank her head, sniffed, and rubbed the tip of her nose that was itching uncomfortably. I won't. Where is the black market? It's... The man in the big brimmed hat and sunglasses whispered a string of addresses in Jolie's ear. Jolie found the legendary black market. Those people hiding in the corner took a needle and inserted it into their arms. They pushed the liquid and raised their heads in enjoyment. One could tell how satisfied they were just by looking at them. Jolie looked around timidly. Someone patted her on the back. You want stock? She turned around and saw a fierce-looking man staring at her with a wretched look in his eyes. When Jolie heard that someone had stock, she nodded eagerly. Yes. She opened her handbag, took out her wallet, and gave him a few pink banknotes. What do you want money for? The man chuckled. You are worth much more than these banknotes. If you follow me, I'll give you an endless supply. How about it? Jolie took a step back. I'll ask someone else to buy it. Haha, see if anyone here will sell it to you. The people around, including those who had been injected on the ground, began to laugh strangely. Jolie couldn't help but tremble. She couldn't stand the feeling of not having drugs. She had already reached her limit. She grabbed the man's arm and said in a daze, I can do whatever I want with what you give me. Add Jianghu 799. Chapter 711. The psychologist analyzed it for Jianghu. Perhaps the patient had subconsciously closed herself off and locked herself into a circle. That was why she chose to escape and not face it. The infusion was also a small amount. 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening every day. It was already May. At that time she was still wearing long-sleeved clothes. Now she was wearing short-sleeved clothes. Yunyi, when you wake up, I'll divorce you. I promise you that I won't drag it out and won't cling to you. You've been with me for so long and given me a lot of things. When I was with you, I was very happy. I felt that I got a lot of things. So, don't say nonsense like you don't want anything. If you say that, it will make me look very incompetent. You know that I care about my reputation. I'll give you the house in 9th Mansion. As for alimony, I won't give you. You can earn money now and support yourself. What do you think? Actually, I think you can still ask for some money. After all, if word gets out that I, Jianghu, didn't even give alimony to my ex-wife after a divorce, it would be really embarrassing. Yunyi, you'll let go after the divorce, right? You won't think that one is your husband and the other is your father, right? You won't hate the husband and think that the husband killed the father, and you won't feel inferior and think that the father dragged the husband down, right? You're only 20 years old. Why do you have to think so deeply? But I can't blame you. If it were me, I would also feel very uncomfortable. Okay, I'll do as you say. Let's get a divorce. I've already drafted the divorce agreement. I'm waiting for you to sign it. Jianghu had actually thought it through a long time ago. In front of love and family, Yi was unwilling to choose. In her mind, love might be above everything, but it couldn't be above family. On the contrary, even if family was above everything, it couldn't be above love. In her heart, her father and husband were equally important. Jianghu held the 2 divorce agreements that had been drafted in his hand. There were only a few lines of words, unlike many divorce papers that had several pages of densely packed requirements for the obligations of both parties. The house belonged to Yi and nothing else. Jianghu's tone was indifferent as he slowly read the contents of the agreement. He read it again and again until the saliva in his mouth was dry. He took a sip of water and continued reading the boring divorce agreement. At night, the lights rippled in the night sea. Yi's floor was very high. I won't give you the house in the north of the city. Ouyang Yen stayed there before, so I asked the agent to sell it. If you think it's too little, then negotiate with me. I can't lose a woman, right? Yunyi, let me tell you, it's rare for me to be so easygoing. If you don't hurry up and sign the papers, I might go back on my word tomorrow. You also know that a divorce is too embarrassing for me. I have such a bright future ahead of me, and a divorce is equivalent to a stain on my record. It's rare for me to be so merciful, so you can't blame me if you don't cherish this opportunity. Actually, you're not that good. Why should I insist on not divorcing you? You're not the prettiest. You're just a little taller, have a good figure, and have good skin. What else is good about you? Other than being able to cook something that's barely edible, tidying up the house, and occasionally teasing me to make me laugh. You can barely cooperate with me when it comes to sex. I really don't know what else you have that makes me reluctant to part with you. Look at you, you're as stupid as a pig. To think that I used to praise you as a fox. You've simply humiliated the ancestors of foxes. Forget it. I'll call you fox pig like I said before. Hey, look at you. Other than making me so angry that smoke comes out of my 7 orifices, what else have you done for me? At this time Jianghu had already gotten out of bed. He pulled Yi Er's hand to his mouth and kissed it. His gaze fell on her eyelashes, carefully observing her reaction. In a very dissatisfied tone he said, "Aya, that's great. I'm going to divorce you." He leaned his head on Yi Er's shoulder and let out a long sigh. There was some interest in his tone. "Hey ex-wife, why do you think I'm so happy? I realize that I'm going to be reborn. Do you want to celebrate with me? I can finally get rid of you." I'm taking a deep breath. It's so comfortable. Sign the agreement and we'll have a good drink. Seriously, no matter what, I have to set up a banquet and invite my friends. The extravagance of the divorce must be bigger than the wedding. You know, I'm very prideful. Hey ex-wife, where do you think we should have our farewell dinner? The Qin residence is definitely not good. You're not our daughter-in-law anymore. How can you eat at the Qin residence? How about Haiwa restaurant? Although the price is quite nouveau riche, the nouveau riche means that you're rich. Who asked me to be rich? Since I'm rich, I have to go to expensive places to eat. Now I feel that divorcing you was the right decision. You're so stingy. When you go out, you always order 2 dishes and 1 soup. You don't show off my ability at all. You make me lose face. The woman's hand was still in his palm. Her hand had the temperature of an ordinary person and was warm. He nestled it on the tip of his nose and deeply inhaled the scent of her skin. The smell was very pungent and sour. It was so sour that it made him very uncomfortable. The sour smell was so strong that he couldn't open his eyes. His chest was filled with the waves of heartfelt words. He steadied his mind and continued to put on airs. So, for the farewell dinner, I'll order the expensive dishes. Anyway, I have plenty of money and I can't even spend it. Do you regret it a little? I'm so rich and there will be many women who like me. Not to mention my status and appearance, there will be many women who like my money. If you divorce me, are you afraid that I'll be snatched away by other women? I'm not afraid to give you a heads up in advance. Once the news that I'm single is announced, my value will immediately rise. At that time, I'm afraid that the doorstep of our house will be trampled to pieces. You know Tsing Ting Ting, right? Although she didn't pester me after that, I heard that she got engaged some time ago. But if she hears that I'm divorced, she will definitely run out from the engagement party to propose to me. Do you believe me? Why don't we make a bet? Let's bet 10,000 yuan. You're too poor, so let's bet less. Yun Yi, he pressed the woman's hand against his forehead and couldn't continue speaking. Tears flowed down the bridge of his nose, passed through his other eye, and fell onto the pillow, wetting a pool. He let out a long sigh. Yun Yi, you can't be so unreasonable. I've agreed to everything, don't you think so? If you want a divorce, then so be it. What else do you want? Do you think that I'm easy to bully? Now that you can bully me, you're going to bully me with your life? It's enough that you've caused trouble once. Didn't you scare me enough when you got into a car accident last time? You already owe me so much. Don't you feel embarrassed to continue owing me? The more you make me do for you, the more you owe me, right? How are you going to pay these debts? Hey, you must say that you took a bullet for me, so you've paid back what you should, right? Okay. I've paid it all back, okay? We don't owe each other anything anymore. Really, Yun Yi, we don't owe each other anything anymore. You've paid back what I did for you in the past with your life. That's enough. Really, it's enough for anyone. You don't have to feel so inferior and think that you've always been the one who owes me. Really, you've paid back enough. We don't owe each other anything anymore. Do you feel better now? Jianghu talked until very late. He could no longer lift his eyelids and finally fell asleep. The next morning, Jianghu was awakened by the sound of running water. The bathroom. Jianghu sat up abruptly. There was no one on the bed. There was a signature on the divorce agreement on the bedside table. Yun Yi. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 712. Those strokes were slender and weak. Her handwriting had always been ugly. He had even mocked her for being a Chinese, but her Chinese handwriting was so ugly. It was soft and squishy, like a person without a skeleton or spirit. She always said that everyone used computers these days. who wanted their handwriting to be so beautiful. But every time she saw some of his work notes, she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, "God, how many years have you practiced these words? How can you write so well? I like it so much." Jianghu smiled. When he saw the divorce agreement at the top of the paper, his smile became even more bitter. She could actually hear it. She actually also felt that divorce was a way out. She actually didn't want to face their marriage in the future, even if she loved him so much that she could give up her life at the last minute. Perhaps what she needed more than just escape. What she needed more was time. The sound of water coming from the bathroom woke him up instantly. He quickly put on his slippers. When he ran to the bathroom, he pushed the door open and entered. She was bathing naked. The water from the shower was very small. She was washing very carefully, probably afraid that she would touch her back. "Let me help you." She didn't feel embarrassed at all. She just turned her back to him and said calmly, "Oh, okay. I don't know if the injury at the back is better. Is it because I can't touch water?" "A little. I'll wash the injury at the back for you. As for the upper part, wring a towel and wipe it later. This way it won't touch the wound." "Yeah, I don't feel the pain from the wound anymore. Because it's been so long, it's almost healed. But after all, the injury is serious. Don't use too much force. Otherwise the wound will still hurt." If it was in the past, Jianghu would definitely not be able to resist pushing the woman who was bathing against the wall and making a big deal out of her. But now, he did not have the slightest desire to wash her. She also indifferently allowed his hand to gently scrub the skin on her back. The throbbing in their hearts was deeply hidden in the bottom of their hearts. Jianghu was a little hesitant. His gaze fell on her back. It was so thin that her spine could be seen. He put his fingertips there and slowly stroked it. "Yinyi, can you not tell the family about the divorce?" "Okay." After seeing Yi Er agree, she smiled again. "Yeah, you know that I'm very prideful. Then aren't we going to have a celebration?" Jianghu's eyes lit up. "Ha, when I'm free we'll have a breakup party. How about that?" Yi Er. Calm. Calm? The night was so quiet that only the sounds of insects could be heard. This kind of silence was frightening. Jolie crouched in the grass behind the iron fence. It was already May. The mosquitoes were rampant, but she didn't feel any pain or itch at all. She let those things bite her. She kept remembering that person's instructions. Don't let the workers find out. After all, this kind of place where drugs are traded will definitely be reported. But this is the only place where it's not easy to be found out. When you find that everyone is asleep, open the metal door on the left side of the fence. Go in and wait. Imitate a bird's call and someone will give you the drugs. There's a dog there. Don't be afraid. It's locked and won't hurt you." Jolie believed it again. So when she heard the sound of a dog barking, she wasn't afraid at all. But the nightmare that followed became a demon in her heart forever. The ferocity of the dog and the wind pulled Jolie back from the edge of addiction. Her arm was suddenly pulled, as if a steel nail was suddenly nailed into her arm. It was so painful that she wanted to die. Jolie couldn't take it anymore. She screamed in the wind, "Help!" She couldn't run. She could only hear more than one wild animal fiercely pulling at the metal chain. The wind was strong and powerful as it ran towards her. It was truly frightening. Her body was so weak that she couldn't run anymore. Her leg was pulled again. "Help! Help!" She was already as thin as a stick of firewood, but that wolf dog was like a big and strong man. It grabbed her arms and legs and swung its head, even her whole body was swung up. She screamed miserably, "Help!" She couldn't tell if her voice was filled with fear or despair. She only knew that at this moment she deeply felt pain. It was real pain. She hadn't known what pain was for a long time. She could hear a piece of flesh being torn from her arm. A piece of flesh was also torn from her calf and leg. The pain had already disappeared. She felt like she was going to die. At this moment she suddenly felt pain on her face. Her consciousness instantly recovered. Her face. She suddenly reached out with her free hand to hit the head of the dog that was biting her face. She felt the fur on her face. She seemed to have hit its teeth. This was her bravest counterattack. Previously she was afraid. But her face. The dog was angered. It bit down hard and shook its head. Rip. Feeling a piece of flesh being torn from the left side of her face, Jolie finally felt that she couldn't bear it anymore. Everything in front of her turned black. The lights were turned on. All the lights in the farmhouse were turned on one after another. The barking of the dogs and the cries for help were too intense. When the shop owner rushed out and saw the three wolves tearing apart a mass of flesh and blood, He was shocked. Quick! She's dead. The dog couldn't resist this kind of meat. The owner rushed up with a stick and shouted. He used force and asked someone to throw a live chicken over to attract the dog's attention. The staff quickly dragged Jolie out of the fence. Boss, she's still breathing. Quick, send her to the hospital. Give her an injection immediately. Damn, she's going to die. Why did she come to the dog park in the middle of the night? Is there something wrong with her brain? 2 days later, the night came on time. Zhuang Yichen was very dissatisfied with the result. He couldn't suppress his anger on the phone. Bastard. How could they send her to the hospital and save her? Boss, the farmhouse is now afraid of getting into a lawsuit, so they have been paying for treatment. Moreover, this matter has caused quite a stir. There were many witnesses at that time, and some people even reported it to the TV station. They even made a special episode about the safety hazards of raising dogs. Do you think we should stop this matter? Stop. But when she's discharged, clean it up for me. Now that Jiang Zhao was going to take Yi Er out of the hospital, he couldn't leave this problem to Jiang Zhao. He had to deal with it. Okay. Zhuang Yichen, do me a favor. A woman's voice came from upstairs. Okay. Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone and walked upstairs to the walk-in closet. Xiaoya's cloakroom was very big, even bigger than the master bedroom. The clothes in the wardrobe in the master bedroom were all the clothes she usually wore. The cloakroom upstairs was filled with clothes that she made herself, or some expensive gowns that she bought. At this time she was looking at the mirror and pulling at her chest, pouting. What's wrong? Zhuang Yichen had already entered the room. He saw Hua Zei's back facing him. The seductive red dress made her snow-white skin look like jade. Looking at the style of the dress, the tube top, the slim waist and the long skirt, he couldn't help but frown. He didn't think they were going to a dinner party because he had never taken her to any. Where are you going tonight? Aya, help me zip it up. She felt the tight skirt wrapping around her tighter and tighter. She knew that the man behind her was pulling up the zipper for her. My mother introduced me to someone. I have to go deal with him. My mother said that he only likes women like Lu Roying, who are as light as a mast flower. So if I dress up a little more, he will definitely not like me. Zhuang Yichen's hand suddenly pulled up, then pinched the woman's shoulder, turned around and made the woman face him. She wasn't wearing high heels yet, so he pinched her chin and made her look up to meet his eyes. Although the seductive makeup was applied to her eyebrows, because of her delicate skin, the makeup was natural and fitting. She wasn't like those women who couldn't be seen up close once they put on makeup. Her eyelashes were long and curly. At this time, with the elongated mascara, they were like two exaggerated fans. The smoky makeup made the ends of her eyeliner curl up. She wore a seductive red lipstick on her lips. Bright red dress, bright red lips and charming eyes. What a seductive woman. He never liked her wearing heavy makeup. It was too tacky. Although she looked seductive, she didn't look tacky. This woman had made herself look like Su Daji. Was she sure that she was going to make others look down on her? He let go of her. Another blind date? She turned around and looked at herself in the mirror again. Then she took out a diamond necklace from the jewelry box and wore it around her neck. She stretched her swan-like neck and touched the necklace around her neck to see if it matched. Yes. Do you want me to tell my mom that I'm not going? Zhuang Yichen frowned slightly again. What if I say no? Aren't you afraid that my mom will move in and stay here until she marries me off? You're only 25 years old. Why are you thinking about getting married so early? Do you think I want to get married? I don't lack men. My mom said that she needs a son-in-law. It's just a formality. You're so serious about dressing up just for a formality? Zhuang Yichen wanted to rub the makeup on her face. How am I serious? My mom said that that person likes women who are as plain as water. I did the opposite. Do you want me to dress up to suit that person's taste? Zhuang Yichen turned around and walked out of the room with an inexplicable anger. Xiaoya heard the sound of his footsteps slowly disappear up the stairs. Her shoulders slumped and she felt a bitter taste in her mouth. What exactly did this man want? Jiang Zhao sneaked out of the hospital with Yi Er. Rather than saying that they were sneaking out, it was more accurate to say that they were in cahoots with the hospital. Yi Er could be discharged from the hospital, but Jiang Zhao told the doctor that they needed to observe him for a while longer. It was fine for a person who was unconscious to sleep in the hospital, but for a person who could move freely, it was a form of torture. Thus, Jiang Zhao naturally sneaked out of the hospital with Yi Er. Haiqing in May is really comfortable. It's not cold or hot, right? Jiang Zhao asked. Yes, the wind at night is really comfortable. Yi Er stretched out his arms comfortably and felt very comfortable walking on the road. Are you hungry? Let's go get something to eat? I want to eat sashimi, okay? Jiang Zhao did not dare to agree to this. It's cooked. Is that okay? How about spicy boiled fish? Jiang Zhao's mouth twitched. It seemed like she could not eat anything too spicy. Can you not add spicy? How about spicy fish? Was this woman deliberately going against him? How about steamed fish? Welfare Shinwu 799, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.